I believe.
Yeah, practically nothing. Welcome
Yes.
to the Sunday Superversive Livestream. I am your host, Benjamin Wheeler, and I'm here with my co-host, Anthony Marquetta. And we're vibing out on a video game stream. Uh, I keep trying to play Fallout New Vegas, but, we'll get there. It's actually been pretty well for me. It's just, I don't know, I don't think it likes the streaming software. But, Anthony, how are you doing?
The screaming stopped for a while, so it's been worse.
It stops for you? Look at him, this Chad among men. He doesn't,
Eh.
this, screaming stops for him. My goodness.
Once every few hours.
Of course, of course. Uh, all right. What we're talking about today is video games. What we're doing right now, because we are doing a few new things, tried some things. Anthony's done the new Doom, Clair Obscur, and a few other things. Root is a perennial favorite. I'm playing Fallout New Vegas, and I got some other things to say, I guess. But Anthony, why don't you start this one?
Sure, yeah. God Doom the Dark Ages. I'm not gonna lie to you. I heard like John Delarose was talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, it's just like it's modern slop Doom."
Slop.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. From what I could, it looks like there's just too much effort in it for it to be real slop. Like that's been my vibe since I've seen it, and I also just really, really love the aesthetic. This like kick-ass retro, like I don't even know what you would call it, like medieval punk thing.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's not the worst thing you could call it.
yeah, I guess that kind of works. Yeah, like this retro future medieval vibe, which is an amazing just an incredible vibe as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh So I've had my eye on it. I've been waiting for a sale. Definitely was not a full price type of game for me. But here's the thing: like, I should mention my history with the Doom franchise. This is probably the single oldest and most beloved shooter franchise, FPS franchise in all of gaming. Right?
Right.
Like, I think you can make that claim. It went through two distinct eras, and both of them are like equally beloved, right?
Right.
Like the classic Doom era with Doom and Doom 2, and then there might have been a third one in there, I'm not sure.
Yes, which is its own thing. To
Yeah.
be fair to it, it is its own thing.
And then they had like new Doom era with the revamp that seems to be like almost equally beloved, right?
Yes.
So all of this is to say that like Doom is like the storiest of storied franchises. And as Jean Delarose, like, no, this is slop. They took us off like, and I remember from being a kid and seeing like Doom on my computer that if you played on easy mode, it was like I forget exactly what it was. It was basically like pussy mode or wimp mode or something.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
hurt me too bad mode.
Yeah, something like that. And they did get rid of that. Now, and I understand why it's like, oh, it's a cowardly move, and sure, I guess it is, but also like whatever, man. Yeah,
Right.
I understand why if you're a longtime fan, this is the sort of thing that would kind of annoy you, and I also get that it is a bigger deal than just like getting rid of this one thing. 'Cause it's a design philosophy shift,
Yeah.
right? So I do get that, but at the same time, I'm like, do you really want to blow that up into like a huge thing? You know?
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, and it's like I'm kind of like there's a certain level of professionalism I just don't ascribe slop to. Like sure, Doom the Dark Ages took out the insulting to game journalists thing, but that's actually completely unrelated to its gameplay, where they evolved it again. Like people like complained about the shift between Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, which Doom Eternal, my beloved. There are several streams on here from some years ago where I'm playing on like not Ultra Nightmare, but like Nightmare or like what
Mhm.
the hardest one that doesn't require co-op and doesn't have enemies responding. I forget the name of it. Where essentially, um, uh, It's like, yeah, it went from here to here, but no, they evolved their gameplay uniquely 3 different times. That's crazy. That's crazy. You can't that's not slop. If it was slop, it'd be a different, they wouldn't have tried it this hard, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the aesthetic is incredibly cool, and it does. By the
Oh,
way, I will say it is as cool as it looks, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I don't know if I'm in the majority here or not, but I think that it looks amazing. Uh, to be honest, it actually like I expected it to be harder to run it. Like I have a gaming laptop, that's what I use at home, but it's now like what, probably close to a decade old, right? Like it is not a new laptop anymore. It was
right,
like expensive when I got it, but I haven't updated or replaced it or anything. So I was like not 100. And there are certain games that struggle on here, like the Monster Hunter games. I tried to like play World and Rise, and it was just way too glitchy, and I had to give up. You know, so I was like not sure what to expect. And yes, I did have some issues where like I would boot it up the first time and it would crash on me, but then after like a couple tries, it worked. Once I was in it, it was fine, right? Like it
right.
worked fine once I actually got into the game. Zero issues, looked great. Gameplay was really fun. Uh, what is there to say about it? Well, I was bringing up the history of the Dooms to be like, this is like the one of probably the single most storied FPS franchise in all of gaming, at least in like the top three. Maybe you
Yep.
could say Half-Life is higher, but that only has
Nah,
two full games and a VR game. Uh, right, like
yeah,
maybe debatably, all sort, and there are others, but it's up there, right?
right,
In the history of gaming, it has an outsized place, and I've basically not interacted with it, right?
right.
Shooters are not my thing as a rule. I don't I'm pretty eclectic in my tastes overall. Honestly, if you asked me what my favorite genre of game was, I would kind of be hard pressed to tell you. Like I would say like, oh, platformers, I guess. And I think about it and it's like, it's really only a couple. And then I go like, oh, well, is it roguelikes? And I go, well, the roguelikes just are like, honestly, roguelike is barely its own genre because every roguelike is so incredibly different. Like, is
Yeah,
FTL really in the same genre as Hades, even though they're both roguelikes? Uh I mean, like technically sort of kind of, but also no.
right.
Uh
That's a
and
good
it's
way
the
to
same
put it.
thing where you go like, well, do you like shooters? And I would be like, generally not really. It's not my thing. But then I think about it, it's like, well, Left 4 Dead 2 is one of my all-time favorite games. Still play it.
Yep.
Uh, BioShock, I really loved. I gotta say, for all of the well-earned and deserved criticism, Rapture is quite incredible. And the Andrew Ryan twist, when you do not know it, does hit.
Yes.
So I cannot bring myself to dislike BioShock, even with all of the like people make criticisms of it that I don't really disagree with. They're absolutely right to make them. It is far from a perfect game. That is indisputable. But I can't hate it. There's just too much good stuff in there for me to really dislike it. Uh it's fun. It's a fun
Yeah.
game. Like using the plasmids is fun. Yeah. Uh I played BioShock Infinite basically because it was a sequel to BioShock. And to be honest with you, even though it is a much more flawed game, and I think the story is dog shit, uh,
Mhm.
I really did not have a bad time when I played it. Like,
Yeah.
not at all. Like, is it a particularly great game? Is it one that I will replay? No, and probably not. But did I have a good time when I was in the middle of playing it? Yeah, I had fun. Rapture's cool looking. That's pretty much all I'm looking for.
Right.
Uh, or sorry, not Rapture. It was Columbia. Uh, Burial at Sea Part 2 is nice. That was a good addition. The Burial at Sea DLCs and Rapture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Part 2 was cool. It was very funny that due to the fact that there was a bunch of backlash that they made the black characters villains in the original game, that they retconned it in the DLC in one of the most transparent ways they could, and just kind of pissed everybody off. Uh,
Yeah.
But I even that I couldn't even really be mad at it. Like you might think I would be mad at that, but remember, I already thought the story of BioShock Infinite was bad, so I was well beyond that. So I just thought it was really funny how transparent it was.
Yep.
Uh so yeah, Burial at Sea Part 2, genuinely and unironically recommend, really good stealth game. It is a little silly that once you get the invisibility plasmid in the game, it completely breaks because they literally just can't see you. Uh,
Yeah.
and you could just go like, granted, like the way they try and if I recall right, the way they try and I know this is a tangent, but it's a funny one, so I'm going to mention it. The way they try to balance it is that you can't move while you're invisible unless you get like a special power up that's limited or whatever, right?
Right.
Um, but it doesn't really matter because literally they could like alert them. They could be looking for you. If you get out of sight and turn invisible, you could just stand there until like the alert goes away and then wait and then you're fine. Like it
Right.
completely breaks the game. It's very funny. Uh
Well, yeah. But that's old news, Anthony. That's old news.
oh,
What
it is, but it's also like on the flip side, it's like that's old news, but then you really just don't have any excuse.
yeah, right,
Uh
right.
My beloved Mark of the Ninja, one of the most underappreciated games ever made, solved this problem by
Yeah.
giving you the most OP power of the game late in the game, but getting rid of every other power up at your disposal. So, and it
Ooh.
was dope as hell. Absolutely great. They gave you a teleportation ability,
Yeah.
that, but they got rid of all of your other power ups. It was great. It was a perfect balance of you felt like you were getting more powerful as the game went on, but the game also remained difficult. Uh,
Yeah.
because Mark of the Ninja is the GOAT. Uh, or may in fact have the best story of any game I've ever played. Honestly, it's up there. And more people should appreciate it. But whatever. Back to Doom: The Dark Ages. So
Mm,
I go into Doom: The Dark Ages with like very, very little FPS experience. I do not hate FPSs, but as a rule, I just don't particularly like them. Right?
mm.
Like I don't really try them much, and I had no experience with Doom except very limited exposure as like a kid with original Doom. 90s Doom.
Yes.
And even then, it was like, my dad had it on in the background, and when he's not there, I like step on and die in 5 seconds, that sort of thing. Uh,
Right.
right. So, no, I went into this with zero expectations of like the series legacy or anything. I'm just like, I want to try this because aesthetically, this looks cool as hell. And you know what? I've been having a blast. I cannot hate it.
Yeah.
I understand John De La Rosa's argument. I really do. I am not disrespecting the man. He is my friend, but I think he makes a point that is legitimate about the game. With that said, having played it, I'm like, there's just too much effort put into this game for me to truly believe that it's like not that it's slop, right?
Right.
Just way too much that too much love in the aesthetics, too much attempts to try and do interesting things mechanically. Like sure, it's not like groundbreaking, but ultimately too, like it's a
Right.
Doom game, right? It's a shooter. You know,
What are
the
you expecting out of this, kind of
yeah.
thing.
Then even then, like they are doing cool like the shield mechanic. They added like a parrying thing with the shield, and they had it like
Right.
you could throw it and it slices demons and whatever. Like cool as hell. Really enjoy it. Uh
Yep.
the gameplay loop of like you can charge with your shield and then like they have special moves, like it's fun. The guns, they add a gun later in the game. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I've seen it in all of the reviews, so I'm very much looking forward to it. They have a gun that after you kill someone, it gets its ammo by crunching up the bones of what you kill and turning it into ammo.
Right.
uh that is very cool. 10 of 10.
It is. It is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
a
know, man. I just like, do I have anything profound to say about it? Is this the best Doom game? Well, I couldn't tell you even if I knew, right? Like I
yeah.
haven't played them. Is it a good game in its own right? I can't say I really like I don't see how it can't be. I know that there are probably like people who are like know a ton about FPSs who are going to be like, no, this has so many flaws, right? But like,
Right.
let's put it this way: is it better than BioShock Infinite? Yes, definitely. Don't even need to
Yeah.
hesitate. Um, is BioShock Infinite a bad game? I wouldn't call it a bad game. I'd call it a mediocre game, I guess. Maybe average. Maybe mediocre is a little bit too mean. An average game, right?
Yeah.
Like it does the minimum you have to do to be acceptably fine with its FPS mechanics and nothing more.
Yep.
And it lives off of Rapture looking cool, but
Yep.
also like it's not as cool or not. I keep saying Rapture. I mean Columbia. It's not as cool as Rapture.
Right.
It doesn't feel as lived in as Rapture. The story does not have the intrigue of the original BioShock. And again, original BioShock itself, I think that is a great game, but it's a great game like sort of like how Death Note is a great show.
Right.
This is what I mean by that, where is Death Note perfect? No, and you'll never find even a Death Note fan who will, including myself, who will ever tell you that Death Note's perfect. Everybody knows Death Note falls off in the second half, right?
Yes.
Everybody. It's indisputable. But it's very hard not to call it a great show when it has so many all-time great moments, right? Like
Yeah.
the Naomi Masorda episode is an absolute classic. The moment when L introduces himself to Light is stone cold classic.
Right.
Uh
In the same way, BioShock has like, a man chooses, a slave obeys.
Exactly. Like you can't hate BioShock for that. Like people have even criticized like I'm sorry, I understand like, there are like implications here long term. It messes up the narrative of the rest of the game because they don't really have anywhere to go from there. And this
Right.
is absolutely true. I completely agree with this criticism, right? Like there is no you won't get an argument from me. I agree. The game didn't know what to do after that, right? But
Yep.
I cannot call it bad when the moment works as well as it does, you know?
Yeah.
Like it really hits the first time you play it. It's
Yep.
yeah, it's hardcore. I remember like I was completely unspoiled somehow. I don't know how I managed that cuz
Right.
like that game is probably the most spoiled game in all of gaming. Uh But yeah, like I made it to that moment and I still I have a memory of it. Like it was that vivid of like walking into the room and seeing "Would you kindly" scrawled on the walls. And then Andrew Ryan starts speaking and it clicked in my head like at what was about to happen at the moment he started to explain it. And I remember going like, "Oh, that's really good." Like that's really good.
Right.
And then it just kind of like, yeah, now you're just playing a regular video game again.
Right.
But it's great. Like, and Rapture also, everybody, I've heard people like, I think Kursova has like had this take, and Kursova's our bro. We love him. But uh you know, the goat Kursova. But I don't agree with
Right.
him on this. He's been like, oh, Rapture's too, amusement park, too video gamey. And I'm like, no, I really don't agree with that. I actually think they do a great job making Rapture feel lived in. Uh the early level with the Sander Cohen level is a classic. Uh
Right.
Outstanding level. That's the crazy theater guy.
Yeah. No, I remember it.
Yeah.
You beat his employees to death, and then
Yep.
his apprentices to death, and then take pictures of their sprawled bodies like a real artist.
Yeah.
Uh,
Stone cold classic level. Absolutely great. Beginning to end.
yep.
Also, by the way, an actually decent boss fight. I wouldn't call it great, but where you have to chase him as he's throwing bombs at you. Yeah.
You fight him?
Uh Fun boss fight.
That's true.
But anyway, the final so yeah, I would consider BioShock a great game, not because it's a flawless game or because it
Because
isn't
it's
like it doesn't
fun.
have its problems, but because it has legitimately great moments that no other game has, right?
Right.
BioShock Infinite is not that. It is a lot more mediocre. I would say Rapture absolutely does feel very video gamey and amusement parky,
Yeah.
right? Like, is that to say it's bad? No, aesthetically it's very cool looking, which is really all you can hope for, right?
Yep.
Uh, like, sure, I'd like more, but ultimately, if it looks cool, like, what am I really complaining about, right? Um, Columbia looks cool. That's the nicest thing I could say about it.
Yeah.
Um, the story is the worst thing that has ever happened in humankind and history. But it only really gets bad at the very end. For most of it,
Right.
there's like enough intrigue to keep you interested.
And that's just
Uh,
because he wrote himself into a corner. Like the
yeah.
people underestimate how hard like multiple dimensional stories are to write. Like you have to be very careful with it. Because otherwise what's gonna happen is it's like, okay, if they can do this, why can't they do that? That would solve the problem immediately. It's like watching a chess video and there's a very obvious mate that the guy skips over just because he wants to do a theme on knights or something. Um, it's like, yeah, sure, okay, buddy, but at the same time, if you just moved your queen over one, you'd be, the victory would have been yours anyway, kind
Mhm.
of thing. But anyway, yeah, BioShock Infinite has been one of those things that has a weird and storied history that I don't think people will quite understand the knock on effects for any length of time.
I would
It,
agree that this is like the biggest problem with the story of BioShock Infinite. Gameplay wise, again, like it's hard to
right.
say there's really a
Well,
problem
I
per
don't know if I
se.
want to keep talking about BioShock Infinite. I want to hear more about Doom: The Dark Ages,
That's fair. Okay.
like
Yeah,
because
we've
we've
talked
talked
about it
about
before
it,
anyway. So we'll
and
go to
yeah,
Doom Dark Ages. Doom Dark Ages. What is there to say about it? I like the shield thing. It has spikes and you throw it and it cuts demons in half. That's
I mean that
cool.
is pretty cool.
Uh the guns are guns. There's a laser gun, there's a machine gun, there's a shotgun. All of them feel crunchy and good to use. No complaints there. Uh I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I play on easy mode, but the reason I play on easy mode is that I'm very bad at games, so it's not like I'm having like a super easy time. It felt acceptably hard without being like crazy. Um, but I play very few FPSs, which is why I do easy mode because I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just not into it. uh I'm not into like the super challenge where I have to die 50 times and then get frustrated. Yeah.
Right?
Uh but I had fun. It felt acceptable. Yeah. Right? Like, what
Yeah,
else is there? Aesthetically, the medieval punk thing, it works, it hits, I love it. There are big monsters fighting in the background, and occasionally you'll have these little moments of the level where you have to like take a mounted machine gun and hammer on the kaijus until they die. They're
yeah,
sort of like the Titans from Attack on Titan. That's what they look like.
right.
Uh and you gotta and that normally ends the level. That's pretty fun. They have little mini bosses. I haven't That's the closest thing I've had to like a boss battle. They do have a lot of like mini bosses in the levels, which are just like stronger demons that absorb more damage, that take more
Yeah,
time to kill, and have different abilities.
usually
It
have a
works.
cool finishing move or something.
Right, exactly. Y You do get Doom, the Dark Ages has done the modern thing where you get, like, oh, if execute enough, you can get, like, a cool looking finishing move. Once again, I have a sneaking suspicion that hardcore gamers are going to be, like, I haven't looked into this, but it just feels like the sort of thing where a hardcore gamer is gonna be like, "Look, I hate this," right? "Just let me kill him." And I'm going like, "I don't know, man. I think it's pretty cool."
Yep.
Like I haven't checked this, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's something about it that just makes me go like, I have a sneaking suspicion that if I played like a ton of FPSs and I was super into it, this would probably annoy me.
It'd be a
Uh,
little too slow, a little too, not quite there.
right. But I am a normie who likes things that look cool, and it looks cool. So I'm the market, I guess. Uh, that's
Sure.
kind of the problem though, right? Like, which I do get it to an extent, right? Like, if I'm enjoying it so much and I don't normally play FPSs, is that really a good sign for the game? I'm not
Right.
sure.
Maybe
Uh,
it's a good thing my computer can't take it. Uh,
You might be, yeah, like there is a very good chance if you're like a Doom long timer, like it very well might be disappointing to you. I genuinely
Right.
don't know. But on the flip side, I'm like, when I hear people talk about you love Doom Eternal and I hear people talk about it, I'm always like, don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing what anybody says about the game, tastes differ and whatever, but like, is this really a game I would like? And hearing
Right.
people talk about it, I'm like, I'm not really sure. uh Doom the Dark Ages being much more normie coded, much more
Right.
about the aesthetic, much more about looking cool, much more about right. Like that is the sort of thing that I like because
A
I'm
different
normie and
vibe from Eternal where it's like if you want like sweat gameplay, uh it's like, yeah, sure, dude, play Doom Eternal. Like where you can, flick through your wheel to shoot off 15 different guns at technically the same time. So yeah, basically that's it. That's the whole thing. Like, even though I enjoy Doom Eternal, like there's moments where it's just like either you have to retreat, which no gamer really likes doing, or you have to retreat, or you just kind of get how do I want to put it? You just kind of get bodied. You're gonna get killed. By this horde of demons, and you just don't like to feel that. So it's like, yeah, it's like sweat gameplay. It's like it's the end of the era. My little computer doesn't have the 8 gigs of memory required to video memory required to run Doom: The Dark Ages. That makes me sad.
sad.
But it's
It's
yeah.
also that's very sad 'cause there's not even that much memory. Uh
This is an ancient piece. This is like over
yes,
5 years old, 6 years old.
fair.
This is your grandfather right here, right now. This is what it is. Uh, it's a
But
1070.
yeah, like I bought so they finally this is related, I promise. They
Mhm.
finally, after like years of hyping this up, made their System Shock remake. To be honest with you, it had been so long from announcement to completion that I was pretty convinced they wouldn't actually do it.
Right,
But to their credit, they did in fact complete it. And like it's a weird experience. I tried playing it and I didn't end up doing it because this is the problem that I have with it, which is that there is no problem. It is the original game, but with better graphics,
right.
right? Now, is this bad? Well,
Mm.
if you really liked the original, and like, yeah, I will say that it controls better because the controls of the original is looks so old that if you are not used to that era of PC graphics, it becomes very difficult to tell what's going on. Um, I'm sure at the time it probably looked at least good enough because, people were more used to that style by necessity. But in the modern day, without people getting used to it, I at least like find the original System Shock to be a real slog to get through. But and the controls are much better. Like they updated so that basically you can move properly because it's actually quite difficult in the original System Shock.
A little
Uh
bit, yeah.
But in the update, like if there is a problem with it, it's that there is no problem except that like I was playing like finally I could see like what what I was expecting, or at least I shouldn't say expecting, what I wanted when I got it was like this is what the developers would have made with this game if they had the technology, right? That's
Right.
what I was hoping for and like really wanted to see. And that's kind of not what it was. It was more just like, we have fixed the controls and it's now visually it is visually usable. Here's the game. Is this a bad thing? Well, if you love the original System Shock, no, it's probably a real treat, to be honest with you. Right? Like
Right.
I bet you there is a there's a very high number of players who really loved it. Uh I was not one of them. And I tried, man. I got through like an hour, a couple hours of the game just being like, okay, I have no idea what to do next. Like every system is very convoluted. There's like no signposts.
Right.
In other words, all of the things that hardcore gamers hate about modern gaming, I am the idiot normie that is the reason they have it. It's my
Right.
fault. Uh, right? Where they go like, I hate the big yellow arrow that tells you where to go. I hate the right, like that they have to explain everything. And
Right.
I'm there being like, you know what would help? A big yellow arrow. That would be helpful right now. And then everybody's like, I hate you so much.
Listen, you didn't run the flumbus on the plumbus? No. What are you talking about? Well, there's a flumbus and you rub it on the plumbus. Oh, what tells me about it? Oh, the flumbus is actually hidden in the
Yes.
background, in the toilet. And then you have to, oh, when do I have to get to the toilet? Oh, you just don't. You just find it on your own. You aren't
Yeah.
rubbing your face against every surface imaginable. It's the hidden
Yeah,
captain's
man. Like,
toilet.
come on. Come on. You haven't used the flumbus before? Now, I will admit there are times where this gets like really absurd. And as an example of this, I would use modern Pokemon, which we mentioned we would talk very briefly about and only very
As
briefly.
long as it's a new subject to talk about.
It is new. This is
Okay.
actually notable. So I think this is interesting because it's like the design difference between like why modern Pokemon feels like that versus older. Because one of the things people go, oh, modern Pokemon's way too easy, but that's not really true. If you play the original Pokemon, it's always been easy, right? Like obviously,
Right.
it's a kids game. Right, so it hasn't gotten easier? I mean, maybe a little, but not so much that you would be like, "Oh, this is a completely different game." So, what changed here, right? Like, why does it feel easier? Because it does, and there is actually a real answer to this question, and that's that the original Pokemon games were genuine, like, they were kids' versions of JRPGs,
Right.
and you could say, well, Pokemon is still that. And yeah, it is. But what I mean is, if you played a JRPG at the time, specifically Earthbound, I believe, was the one that they were really riffing off of. Uh, like
Yeah.
Pokemon was just the kids' version of that. And there were challenges in the game that, like, sure, they're not super hard challenges, but they're challenges that modern Pokemon genuinely doesn't care about. So they just don't have them anymore. And by this, I mean resource management, right?
Right.
This is one of the big things. Like modern Pokemon just does not care about resource management. It does not think that this matters in the game system. They, if anything, they go out of their way to make it so that it doesn't matter because it reduces frustration. Even though resource management isn't really that difficult in the original Pokemon games, by removing it entirely as a consequence, it makes the whole game feel way easier, right?
Yeah.
Because it's now no longer a thing. Like as an example, Gen 1's a great example of this. They did resource management really well as part of like the whole backtrack of the game. Um HM moves. This was eventually removed from Pokemon, hidden machine moves. They were
Yeah.
moves that you had to teach your Pokemon and it took up a move slot permanently, but you needed it to progress through the overworld, right? Okay. So these were notably unpopular among fans because they're just an annoying mechanic, right? Like you have to stick a bad move on a Pokemon or carry a Pokemon with a bad move with you. I actually think that removing them entirely is a mistake. I think
Right.
that it hurts the game in ways you don't quite understand. And the reason is that this is a resource management problem. Because this is you're absolutely correct when you say this, right? Like, yeah, you now need to either carry a bad Pokemon or carry a move you don't want on your Pokemon, right? In order to
Yep.
progress. You need to make a decision. Which Pokemon are you going to sacrifice in order to do this, right? All right, you're about to enter a dungeon, Rock Tunnel. Uh, so here's your decision. How big is Rock Tunnel? You don't know. They don't tell you. How many items do you need to get through it? You don't know. They don't tell you, right? So what do you? How close to the end are you going to get waylaid? You don't know. They don't tell you. One of the things they did in Gen 1 that they stopped doing later, and it was a very like eventually they stopped. They did do it all the way up to like Gen 4, but famously, the rival would waylay you at the end of dungeons, right? When you
Yep.
were at your weakest. That's why someone goes like,
Shit.
Yes. But it's a really interesting design decision if you think about it for a moment. I
Yep.
watched a whole video on this that was about this, where they were like, you got to make the rival feel strong, but he needs to be someone who is eventually beatable. But he needs to be someone who you're always afraid to see. How do you do that, right?
Right.
And the way that you do that is you have him show up at the end of a dungeon. Because when you do that, you're already weak when you see him, right? So, in consequence, there is a very good chance the first time you see your rival that he will beat you, as well as a very good chance that when you fight him again, you will win because you've healed up, right?
Yep.
But you will remember that the first time you face the rival, he beat you, and you'll remember, oh yeah, the rival's here. He's difficult. It's a very clever design decision. The consequence of it is it kind of feels frustrating, but that's the thing that's been lost in modern games. Sometimes you have to do that, right?
Yep.
Players should feel frustrated occasionally. That's part of the game design, right? Like there should be times where things aren't going right for you. That's part of the game. Some of the most memorable experiences for me in Pokemon games, as a kid are like, I need to make it through Silphco. It's a massive multi-floor dungeon full of people and teleportation tiles. And then you reach the end of it, you're barely living, and you got these 2 boss fights you have to do, right?
Yep.
Like, is this frustrating? Would it be easier? And then you go, but you don't want to leave because you just had to take a bunch of teleportation tiles, and then you're gonna need to find it all again, right?
Yep.
That's annoying. So what do? Do you risk it? Do you risk the fight? It's a genuine decision you need to make. Modern Pokemon loses that because they don't care. This is the thing about game design where I go, like, there is a limit. On one hand, it's very I understand the frustration of gamers because I'm complaining about this with Pokemon, right? But the thing is, Pokemon being a kid's game took this to the extreme. They basically got rid of resource management as a mechanic entirely. It was never even all that hard. It was always a kid's game.
Yeah.
Uh, but they just eliminated it completely. So I do think there is a balance to hit where on the flip side, like, I don't think Doom isn't a resource management game. That's not why I'm playing it. Like, yeah, that's an element of the game. But if I'm having to constantly look at my resources as I play it, I am eventually going to get annoyed, right?
Yeah.
Like with an FPS, same with Bioshock, where like if I'm getting lost constantly in Rapture, yes, I understand that is part of the game. Yes, I think it should be an element. But if this is
Right.
a thing that I'm constantly doing, eventually I'm going to be like, okay, I'm playing this game to kill splicers, right?
Right. Like
Like,
you have to like eventually get a balance where the player feels powerful, but also it's like a power within a reason. Like you probably hate Doom Eternal because its cycle is like, okay, I'm only got 20 shotgun shells. Every ammo boost feels so good. Um, so I have to chainsaw a demon, but if I have 3 fuel, I could chainsaw a big demon. But in reality, if I just hit the big demon's weakness, I don't have to spend 3 chainsaw. If you know what I'm saying. Like it's like there's resource management in there, but at the same time, they introduce it so slowly in the campaign that you're just used to it by the time that you get to the next resource management part of the combat. So even though you start fighting like specialized enemies that require you to use the different upgrades, including ones that you probably never used in your life, you actually are just kind of used to it. So it's like, but at the same time, it feels like there's tons of resources because anytime you're running low, you just chainsaw the nearest zombie to get a cornucopia of bullets. Just so many bullets. A sovereign citizen's wet dream of bullets. Tons is what I'm trying to say.
yes. Yeah, like I don't know, Left 4 Dead 2, one of the best. It's really interesting seeing these design differences in action, right? There is a great video. So remember where they said like, oh, the Left 4 Dead team is making a follow up called Back for Blood. It's a spiritual
Mm,
successor, and then everybody played it, and it was profoundly mid.
yeah, that's a good way
Um,
to put it. Because I played it, it was mid.
I honestly mid might even be nice. It was you try very hard to like it, and you just kind of don't.
Yep.
right? Like that was my impression with it. And then I'm just like, and then you go, and then you think for a moment and you go, I genuinely do not understand. This does really seem to be functionally the same game as Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2,
Yep.
just with like a card system that doesn't really hurt the game, if anything, right? Like, so what gives? Why is it so much worse in comparison? And somebody made a great video that that has no commentary. It is just
Yep.
clips of Black for Blood and Left 4 Dead 2, one right next to the other, showing you all of the differences, and then it just ends with them showing the credits of the Left 4 Dead team and then cutting off the like 6 names from that team, of that like 100-person team that then made Back for Blood. The implication basically being that they lied. They tricked you into thinking this was made by the Left 4 Dead team, when in reality it was like 6 people who were a part of the team at one time in some
Yep.
capacity, who tried to make a Left 4 Dead game but didn't understand how.
Yeah.
And there's just all sorts of like tiny details that made Bad for Blood just indescribably worse. And like it's a really great example. Honestly, like that's one of the best case studies I think ever. Like it's actually good that it exists because it's a great case study in how tiny details add up, where you go, none of this is a big deal. And you'd be right. None of it on its own would be a big deal, but all of it together is a huge deal, right?
Yep.
Like the pipe bombs making noises and stuff, like the fact that every weapon sounds different, the fact that every zombie makes its own noise, that the soundtrack is dynamic and changes, that there are mechanics with flashlights, that there's a like all of these different things, like these little tiny details of immersion. If you removed any one of them, you would barely notice, right? But when
Yep.
you make a game and you go, well, we don't need to worry about this stuff, it's just a tiny surface detail. We're keeping the core mechanical loop, right? And then you realize that that's like the entire game, the whole appeal of it. It's what made
Yep.
it good, right? That and the fact that the original Left 4 Dead has the greatest trailer ever made in the history of video games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm referring to, yes?
I know exactly what you're referring to. I agree. It's entirely fantastic. Like the the first one, of course, is very memorable with because it showcases all the little pieces of what you're expected to do,
Yep.
and it
Every single
provided.
thing that happens in that trailer can occur in the game. Lifting people up, including the witch being startled with a flashlight by the witch, fighting
Yep.
the tank, everything. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. It's
Honestly, a masterpiece of a trailer, but the reason it's a masterpiece of a trailer is the only reason it's a masterpiece is because when you play it, when you watch a trailer, you go, holy shit, that looks awesome. I want to do that. But the key and the reason it's a masterpiece of a trailer is that you will do that when you play the
yes.
game. Like everything that they do in that trailer, everything. He gets spat on by a boomer. They hit a car and an alarm goes off. Somebody nearly falls and you have to pull them up. Like even the little things like that, all of it happens in the game.
Yes.
It's great, and there are like the best games. Like there are stories that you get that grow organically out of gameplay. Like you can remember you ran out of bullets, you're surrounded by a swarm of zombies, you had to pull out a katana, everybody else is down, and you have to survive the swarm to rescue everyone, right?
Yep.
That's what Left 4 Dead did, and Back for Blood didn't, right?
No.
Like it didn't create those sorts of stories, uh but yeah, you're right. It's an unbelievable trailer. Also, son, we just crossed the street is an amazing line.
Oh yes.
He goes,
Just
I can't believe it. We made it. Son, we just crossed the street.
yeah.
uh I also need to comment, by the way, this is a very tiny game design decision, but quite a brilliant one. They have a level that was like a DLC level that you now get in all versions of the PC game of Left 4 Dead 2. I think because they realized immediately that people would just mod it in anyway, so they just gave it to you.
Yep.
The sacrifice level.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's a fantastic overall level, right? But one of the genius things about it is that there is a canonical sacrifice that does need to be made, and that's Bill, right? And there is
Yep.
an achievement if Bill is the one who sacrifices himself called Kill Bill. This is a brilliant game design decision for multiple reasons, because what you have done is effectively make it so that players are no longer going to debate who needs to sacrifice themselves and how they end the game, right?
Yep.
It's always going to be the guy who plays Bill who sacrifices himself, and he will never feel cheated because there is an achievement that you get out of it.
Yep.
It's brilliant. Honestly, like one of my favorite game design decisions. I'm like, that's actually like incredibly clever.
Yes. It's hard to overestimate just how much the original like developers of games just kind of understood games in their entirety. Like, people bring up, like the Doom team, but they were basically studying games 24/7, when they were developing their, Doom and stuff like that. And when they brought people in, even if they didn't have like explicitly like FPS experience, like they were still like Sandy Peterson, who, was developing games constantly and had a history working in different companies. It's working on their game stuff and playing games obsessively. Like it's not something the millennials get as much. Um, as they become more and more dominant, they just don't get it. Like they understand the idea of mechanics, they understand the idea of story, they understand the idea of aesthetics, but they never really put them together in the same way as like people who work on the real franchises like Doom do. Because like if you go to if someone came up to me, hey Ben, how's the aesthetics of Doom Eternal or any of the Doom games? Oh, it's perfect. It's on key. The only mistake that has ever been made on a Doom game is that when you headshot a zombie demon or just a demon in general, you get a cork sound. It's too video gamey. It's literally the one bad aesthetic decision that they've ever made in their life. Yeah, but this is kind of ugly. It matches the aesthetics. Yeah, but this guy's kind of designed weird. He has the same lines as the other demon. He's just not a fat ass. Like et cetera, et cetera. You could say, oh yeah, but he looks kind of weird. Yeah, yeah, he looks a little weird. Like the main villain of Doom, the Dark Ages. He's just like a thin white albino with horns on his head. He's sometimes he has armor. Like it's yeah, sure, okay, fine. Like it's not like an aesthetic choice that's like objectively perfect. However, he is perfectly in line with every other design choice that they've made for all the other demons. Who have horns on their head like he does, who have designs like he does. He's just kind of small, thin, human, and albino. But it's clear, that he is in fact a demon. That might just be a form he's taking. Uh, it's it's hard to it's hard to combine them all together because you have to have on point like aesthetic design that is actually used by and maintain and interacts with the mechanics that is with good writing to support it. Like it's like Overwatch actually had all three of those things in unison, but then they freaked out when they realized how much sexualization the characters are going through. And they tried to mess with it, and they tried to, then they mess with the mechanics, and they messed with it in such a way that like they tried to balance it out for the competitive modes. When in actuality, you don't balance things out for competitive unless something becomes just the one thing everyone does. Well, they did that, sure, but they also mess with 1,000 little things because they didn't want a new thing to come up, and then it just stopped feeling as fun. Like some things were good, some changes were good, like Junkrat no longer hurting himself when he throws his bombs, which always felt really weird and bad, especially if someone like a Genji just jumps into your face. But then it's like with the rest of the ideas, it's like, yeah, you have these fun mechanics. This is a gravity guy, this is a light girl, and this dude shoots Buddhist mantra balls, and Tracer zips around the battlefield. But then what happens is that they kind of they lost track of it all. Like, they lost the good writing, the heroic aspect of Overwatch. They were like, oh, this character's gay. uh it's like, nobody cares, no one was here for that. Like, it wasn't that they had like a black character, you know what I mean? The black characters didn't ruin it. um the It was the fact that they didn't know how to use any of the characters. It was that they focused on the things that were popular, but they didn't exactly, know why it was popular. It wasn't popular because Soldier 76 might have been gay or whatever. It was popular explicitly because Soldier 76 was Call of Duty man, and he had a fun shooting mechanic that turned you into an aimbot randomly. When you popped your ult. So you had these heroic moments where you could be the hero that your game is purporting you to be. Where you win the game because you popped your Soldier 76 ult at the right time, and the enemy team was out of position, so you just got all the headshots. Or you did something like with Roadhog, where you popped your ult and started blasting everyone with your scatter gun, and you push them off, and push three different characters off the stage. That's a lot of fun. Et cetera, et cetera. Like, oh, it sounds simple. You just pop your ult and win the game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, everything else has to go smoothly for it, and nobody has to be ready for, an obviously charged up Roadhog going at you face first. Wide bodies moving, better be careful. Uh, it's it's like a whole bunch of different things. Like, you have to be careful with it, but it'll break the second you push it to one side or the other. The reason why, like Doom 2016, Eternal, and Dark Ages works, even though I think people will eventually agree that Dark Ages is probably the least developed of the three. The reason why it works is because the everything is on point and working together. Uh, I'm playing Fallout, and like, some of the aesthetic choices, I understand that they only had like 7 months or whatever to develop it, but it's like, there's people living in filth because they, use some of the same stuff from the Fallout 3, and like, I dig it, saved a lot of time, but some people have been living here like 10 plus years. They can't live. They're not going to live in a pile of crap. They're not going to leave burned books all over the place. They're not going to leave the junk all over it. It's like, yeah, sure, some of the places are clean, but it's like, I don't know, like, it just feels weird when you run into somebody and it's like they're living in a clearly flea infested junk pile, and they're supposed to be a civilized person. It's kind of like that. Uh, they got me like 50,000 views, by the way, pointing it out on the
Yeah.
tweet. It's like, I put out banger after banger in the tweet mines, and this is what gets popular.
Mm. I have had exactly one hit tweet, and it was the Joan of Arc thing.
Yeah,
But yeah. Yeah, I mean, modern gaming's in a weird place right now, right? Like,
yeah,
everybody knows that AAA games are bad. I've seen people go like, "Oh, well, you can go, but most indie games are slop too." Ha ha ha. I don't know, man. I don't know enough to say that about most indie games, to be honest with you. And even if it's true, I'm not really concerned if most indie games are slop. I am concerned if I can get things that aren't slop, and the answer seems to be yes.
yep,
So in that case, I can't really hate what's going on right now. There's also like the debate, John Della Rosa being this like, oh, Claire Obscure is not really an indie game. Man, I genuinely do not care. Uh,
yeah,
like, why am I? Why does it matter? Who cares? If they
yeah,
have a definition that means that they're going to consider it an indie game for the purposes of rewards, more power to them. Uh,
right,
like, good for them.
It's already corrupt. It's already corrupt as hell. Like if you're paying attention to Game Awards, it's the like like you're the one who's at fault here. Like it's like yeah, sure, the Game Awards are corrupt. Guess what, bud? They've been corrupt ever since the beginning. Like like when have they not been corrupt? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, but with that said, and I think the beginning of the end for the AAA gaming. I mean, I actually might be dating it too late. It was probably earlier in this, but The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Uh, it was probably actually earlier than this, but I think The Last of Us was the time when like. So I think I'm in kind of the minority on the right. I think in that I think that the original Last of Us is a good game. It is solid. The problem is when it came out, people were hailing it as like one of the best games ever made when it was never that, right?
Right.
Uh, one of the big issues with the original Last of Us was that was the disconnect between story and gameplay. That was a big part. That was a big issue with the game.
Yep. Oh
Uh,
yeah. Like I don't want to kill you. I'll be just like you or something like that. It's like you killed
there
like
were
50 dudes on the way
Yeah, there
here.
were. Well, you're thinking of Last of Us 2. That's a whole
Oh,
mess. I'm thinking of the original. Um, and even then, though, like I don't know, there was just a problem where it was like I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but they just didn't do a lot to make you feel like what you were doing was realistic for who you were. You know,
yes.
um, they would do stuff occasionally, and I'm not even saying it was necessarily bad or if it, or it was or it was terrible or anything. But for it to be a truly great game, I think it needed to do more there, right?
Yes.
I know that the enemy AI of the original Last of Us was widely praised. I agree, it was good. Um, I think that but I think in terms of like how the mechanics worked and whatever, it was fine, right? Like
Yep.
they worked more or less. You know, there was no
Yeah.
issue with them. There were some good moments. I think
Yep.
that the story was good. I think that was the issue. It was that the story and the gameplay didn't really integrate all that well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it integrated enough for the normie to praise it. Like I
It
don't
certainly did.
understand
And I
Naughty
would say
Dog's
the
love for
overall
it.
story, the ending is good. It was
Mhm.
genuinely thought provoking, right?
Yeah.
Um, I still think about we've had discussions. We had it with Father Wella of all people, where we were like
Yeah.
debating the ending of The Last of Us and the morality of what he was doing. That's good writing. I
Yep.
appreciate it. Um, Now, was it the best game ever made? No. Was it the best story ever written? Also, was it no? Was it the best story written in the history of video games? Also, no. Uh,
Right.
the truth is, I think Hades came out the same year. Hades was just a straight up better game in every way, right?
Yep.
The original Hades, not Hades 2.
The
Hades 2.
aesthetics, the gameplay, the mechanics, it's
Yep.
the acting, the everything, the sound, like everything worked completely, together.
Yeah. The original Hades was absolutely brilliant at marrying gameplay and story, right? Like it
Yep.
uses the structure of the roguelike in order to tell its story and actually enhance it. This is, by the way, the big problem with Hades 2, which I have mixed feelings is wrong. I don't have mixed feelings. I think Hades 2 is ridiculously fun. I think that the story is incredibly bad. Uh
Yep.
I do not have such feeling. So it's not mixed. It's actually very clear. I know exactly how I feel about Hades 2. Uh, Hades 1, however, I do not have such misgivings. The story of Hades 1 is great. Is
Yep.
it a little bit too, like, yeah, I don't know, modern? Is it a little bit too modern in some ways? Sure. But there's just too much passion put into every bit of it for me to really be mad about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the developers just so clearly cared about the story they were telling and put so much effort into telling it that I couldn't hate it, right? Like,
Right.
oh, but you could have you could do gay shit with Thanatos. I mean, yeah, you could if you want to.
I
Um,
never unlocked it.
right. Like, I'm not saying that I would have included that, but at the same time, it's like, does this really hurt the game over much in the overall package. No, it does such a great job of telling its story. It does such a great job of slowly pulling out the threads. The tone is exactly right for it.
Yeah.
Not too serious, not too, unserious, right? And this came out, I'm pretty sure, the same year as The Last of Us. It is simply a better game in every way. Mechanically, it blows it out of the water, right? Graphically, granted, they are two very different styles, but I am of the opinion that more stylized games like Hades age much better. So I think that Hades looks better as well.
Yeah.
Story wise, it is way better at using the structure of the game to tell its story. Whereas The Last of Us is like a movie attached to a game. Uh,
Yeah.
Hades is very much not. In fact, it is a story that could only work as a video game, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't really work. The best video game stories are like this. This is why Portal. When I heard that they were going to make Portal into a movie, I was like, that's a fantastically awful idea. Uh, because the original Portal and Portal 2 for that matter, but especially the original Portal, the only reason the story of the original Portal is so good is because it's a video game, and you really need to place yourself into the context of the time it was made to understand the genius of it.
Yep.
Like, when you're playing the original Portal, you got to understand, like, it has been very influential on like the industry and how people tell stories and like AI. When it first came out, the original Portal was a revelation for a lot of people and a lot of reasons. It's like the
That's
only
right.
game that Yahtzee ever gave a flawless review. Uh, Famously, the
Yeah.
only game he ever said, like, I have no criticism. This is a perfect game. Uh, and for good reason. There's a lot. The Portal series is my all-time favorite series. I still would place that number one, I think. But the thing about the original Portal that you have to remember is like the story of the original Portal is great. But why is it great? Because when you think about it for a moment, if you just lay the story out, it's incredibly simple. It's not bad in a nutshell, but like, why are people calling it one of the best stories in all of gaming? Is it are they just grading on a curve? No, I would argue they are not. I agree. It is one of the best stories in all of gaming. But the reason is that it's a video game.
Yep.
First, it's that at the time, puzzle games didn't end in boss battle fights the way that Portal did, right? Like, you
Right.
were not supposed to end a puzzle game with a boss battle. I'm sure in the history of video games, someone would be like, ho, but you didn't hear about the niche Atari classic Farkle Buster? Yeah.
Farkle Buster. That's actually the first FPS ever. It
Yes.
came out before Wolfenstein by 3 months.
Right. Like that sort of thing. I'm sure there was a puzzle game somewhere with a boss
Right.
battle, right? The fact is, though, that when you played puzzle games, you were not expecting it to end in a boss fight. And there's the way that the story is told in Portal. When it begins, it's actually unclear if Gladys is even a recording or not, right?
Right.
And they specifically trick you into thinking it could be a recording. Like Gladys has the joke where she goes, "Wow, subject name here. You must be the pride of subject hometown here." It's a great joke in a vacuum. It's very funny, but it's also like part of the narrative of the game is that Gladys is trying to make you think for at least a while that she might just be a recording, right?
Right.
So you're not even sure if Gladys is there. And that's a big part of the game. And then you discover the Ratman dens and you realize, like, which again is something you could only do in a video game, right? Completely optional areas. Do not need
Yep.
them at all. And Gladys never comments on them. Chell never comments on them, right?
Right.
They are just environmental storytelling. But if you find them, it gives the game a little bit of a horror edge. And it also starts to give you the narrative. And the way that the story is told is brilliant. In the middle of the game, Gladys throws you into a live turret testing site. This is the moment where you're like, something seriously fucked up is going on. Like, it's not just, funny fucked up. Like, Gladys might actually be actively trying to kill me, right? And of course, you have the companion cube level. Once again, that's a great example of a thing that only works in a video game. right? Like, why are you
Yep.
attached to the companion cube? Because they give it a name and you have to use it in your puzzles, right?
Yep.
So this is a thing that you can only do in a video game. And finally, the big coup de grace of it is that you go backstage, right?
Yep.
Like that was a big twist when you played it. Now, when you're playing the game for the first time, it's very obvious what you're supposed to do, although some people did not realize it for a while and died until they realized that, oh, you can leave, like it wants you to be able to leave here. But nevertheless, like when you're playing it, the fact that you could go backstage was a really big surprise when you play it for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And then the fact that it ends with a boss battle with Gladys, it's a perfect blend of storytelling where you go like, on one hand, it is shocking that we ended up here. On the other hand, it is entirely inevitable that we ended up here. It had to end this way, right?
Yep.
That is the gold standard of storytelling. If you are a writer, it is this feeling that you are aiming for at all times. Completely shocking, but absolutely inevitable, right?
Yep.
Portal nails it. And Portal 2 goes in a completely different direction. And I think whether or not you think it's good will depend heavily on if the sense of humor vibes with you. I loved it. I think it's incredibly funny. Uh, but I do understand why people don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has its own vibe. I personally would say that Portal 2 is just as good, and I think that they were correct to try and go in a different direction with the humor. I think they had to, because I don't think that you could replicate what Portal 1 did twice, right? That's the
Yep.
entire point. So all of this is to say that like that's what really great video game stories do. So when you're thinking of like The Last of Us and go, is it a great video game story? Well, it's good. It does ask interesting questions. It is coherent, right? Like, I don't actively dislike it or anything. Is it great? Well, no, because why did this need to be a video game, right? Like, is there a reason you can do the story as any other type of story? Yeah, not really. This is also why Mark of the Ninja is, again, I would argue, even though it's way simpler and doesn't have like the shock factor, it is a much better video game story than The Last of Us.
Yep.
Because in Mark of the Ninja, if you don't know, it starts the big twist, and yeah, I guess I'm spoiling it, but it's whatever. Play the game. It's 10 of 10. Uh Play it even though I'm spoiling it. The spoiler, it's incredibly fun. The spoiler will not ruin the game for you. Anyway,
Yep.
uh, one of the big twists in it is that you have a tutorial character who follows you around at the beginning of the game. And then it's revealed in the game that you've gotten a tattoo, the mark of the ninja, right? That gives you like enhanced senses and abilities. And that's why you're so, such an incredible ninja in the game, right? Uh, okay, but the warning is that the ninja who receives the mark is supposed to eventually kill himself, because if he doesn't, the hallucinations that the mark gives him will drive him completely insane, right? Now that I have told you that in this way, you probably can guess where I am going, right?
Yep.
But the reason you can guess it is because of the way I just told it. This is not how they do it in the game. The way they do it in the game is it starts off and you have this character named Aura, who is like a tutorial character who helps guide you through the levels and is just going on missions with you, right?
Yeah.
And then they slowly reveal that, like, in cutscenes, that the ninja's going to go insane from the mark. Then in the final level of the game, you and Aura are having conversation. The premise of the game is that your ninja clan, the reason you receive the mark is that it's the modern day, and like a weapons company has like uh is a threat to the ninjas, so you have to take them out. But then the reveal is that after you defeat the weapons company, is the ninjas steal the weapons and decide to use them to modernize. And you're like, whoa, that's a betrayal of all of our values, that we're not going to be like real ninjas. So you decide that you're going to go rogue and go after him. Well, the game ends with you and Aura confront the master of the order, right? Of the ninja order. And you have a choice, and he's just waiting there for you. And then Aura is saying, you need to kill him. He betrayed your order. He lied to you, and then he expected you to kill yourself. Like, you got to kill him. And then he looks at you and he says, who are you talking to? And you look over and she's gone. And that is the moment that you realize Aura never existed at all. She's been a hallucination this entire time. And you need to make a choice. Do you kill him and become head of the clan yourself, or do you kill yourself because you have you're hallucinating and you might end up slaughtering your entire ninja clan, right? Like, it's a great ending, 10 of 10. There is no correct answer that the game gives you. Now, like, we could say, like, oh, well, killing yourself is wrong. Whatever. The point is, the game doesn't tell you, right? Like, and it's a legitimate question because you're like, well, maybe it's not killing myself. Maybe it's self-defense, right? Or defense of others. I am a danger to everyone. I need to die or I'm going to hurt people, right?
Right.
Or maybe you say, well, he lied to me and he wanted me to kill myself without telling me everything that was going on. And I need to take him out for the good of the clan, right?
Right.
And this is a great ending, similarly to the end of The Last of Us, that it offers you this question of what do you do? Except unlike The Last of Us, you make the choice. And the twist at the end is driven by video game mechanics. The reason that they get away with Aura being a hallucination for so long, and it did work with me, and from consensus, it seems like it worked with most people, right? The reason it works is that you expect tutorial characters in games like this, right? Like, it's the norm. When you play games like this, you get tutorial characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is just that is just how the game works. This is one of the reasons that, and I won't belabor this because we've had this conversation before to the point that people on the show have made fun of me for talking about it too much, so I will be quick. But this is one of the reasons that Sly 2 is like baby's first great video game story, right?
Yeah.
This is not an insult in any way. I actually mean that as a compliment, right? Because it is a kid's game. It's designed for kids. Yeah. But
Right.
one of the brilliant things about the way the story works is that Sly 1 is literally it is a borderline arcade style game, right? You have like 5 bosses that you need to defeat where you gather items, then you defeat the final boss and you win. Okay. Barely a story, right?
Yeah.
Sly 2 looks like it's going to be the same thing, right? You are collecting, clockwork parts from different gang members until you reach the end of part 2 or no, like, or level 3 or something. It doesn't matter, right? Like one of the levels. You've done this twice. You've done the same thing as the other Sly games. And then the level ends. One of the characters you've been working with betrays you. You end up you get thrown into prison. One of the characters escapes and has to break them out. And then the whole story changes from there, right? Now, why does this work? Right? It's a very obvious twist when you play the game knowing about it and go, okay, well, it's so right, like broadcast. So how could you possibly be taken by surprise? Well, for one thing, it's a kid's game. But even besides that, the reason it works so well is because this is how the first game worked, right? Like, you're not expecting any twists because the first game didn't have any twists. And so far, game 2 is playing very similarly to the first game. So they can they can shoot this bullet one time, right? They have exactly one chance to use this and for it to work. And they do. And it is an incredibly impactful moment. This is like baby's first great video game story. And it's great because, like, it's the same thing. It uses the structure of the video game to tell the story. Modern games kind of don't do that anymore, sadly. There are exceptions,
Right.
even like Hades 2, right? Why is Hades 2's story so much worse than 1? Again, gameplay is great. I would straight up, it's so good, I would still straight up recommend Hades 2, right? Just to play the game. I have a ton of fun playing it. The story is abysmal dog shit. However, it is abysmal dog shit in a way that is more funny than infuriating, in my opinion. So I enjoyed it in the level of, as I was playing it, I realized how mad it was gonna make everyone, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be good. Because I'm like, wow, this is incredibly bad. Everyone's gonna hate this. And I like looked up the forums, and everybody was like, what the fuck was that? Yeah, like, to be clear, the plot, the other thing is that Hades 2 is so long house coded. It's ridiculous.
Right.
It's literally a witch needs to take out the patriarchy. Like that's the plot of Hades 2 explicitly. Uh it's ridiculous. But then as somebody pointed out though, and this did make me kind of appreciate the ending of Hades 2 a little more, because somebody pointed out one of the reasons everybody's so mad at the ending is the reveal that actually the patriarchy is good and you should keep it.
Right.
And I'm like,
Based.
okay, maybe Hades 2 is secretly based and I was wrong all along. But no, that's the fun version. That's not what they intended.
No. And that's something that, like, is kind of worn off its shine when it's like everything is actually secretly based. Mad Max Fury Road is secretly based because it shows the woman immediately destroying society by letting the unwashed masses into the home.
It's
Uh,
honestly one of my pet peeves. If I'm like, really, it
oh,
drives me
really?
nuts.
Yeah,
With like people do this with everything that they like. They want to make excuses for things they like. First thing isn't secretly based doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or there is a problem with it. Like
right.
Serenity has always been one of my favorite movies. I probably overrated it in retrospect, but I still like it quite a bit. Is it secretly based? Fuck no. Uh like it's definitely not. Is it a good movie? Sure, yeah.
Yep.
Um, I'm I'm gonna name drop him, but like to my peril. So with the caveat that he's way smarter than me. John C. Wright tried to do this with Milan, where he's like, actually, Milan is like the most super ultra epic conservative movie ever made, and I'm like, John, no, that's
No.
that's very not true.
Or
Like,
it's like when they were talking about, like, I'll make a man out of you. It's like, oh, it's just like the woman thing. Yeah, it's just like the woman thing, but at the same time, it doesn't make it better. It's
like
these guys. I
the
don't
the
know.
problem with here is my big problem with that take specifically as well. Like I understand in terms of things like, for example, Starship Troopers. That's a genuine one where you go like, well, actually, it's secretly based, and that's like the big debate. Oh, the right doesn't get it, but really they do. My problem with Milan is that everybody who watches it knows it's feminist, right? Like the fact
Right,
that you're interpreting it as not feminist, that is a quirk of you, not a quirk of like everyone else. You are the one who is like applying a meaning that is clearly not intended to be there, right?
right,
Like when it comes to Starship Troopers, I'm willing to claim Starship Troopers. Like, yeah, he might not have intended it to be based, but it is.
right.
Mulan is not like that. It can't be like that because
And it's funny because he's so angry. The director's so angry about it.
yes, like Mulan, like I'm like sorry to apologies to John here, but like no, you're the one who is applying a meaning to the movie that is obviously not there, and nobody who watches it thinks it's there. Now, if you were a kid in the 90s, you grew up with the movie, probably you didn't think much about it at all. But if you still like it nowadays, you're in one of two camps. You either correctly recognize it was feminist and like that, or
Yep.
you are in denial about it, right? Like I don't really know any other way to put it. Like there is an even simpler test here, which is if you were to go to the movie and tell them, "Hey, thanks for making a super base masterpiece," would they be upset or would they be like, "Yeah, thanks"? If you were to go up and go, "Wow, what a great feminist movie," would they be upset or would they be like, "Yeah, man, that's exactly what we intended"? I
Right.
think they would be like, "That's what we intended." Um, I
Yeah.
think they would be like, "Yep, that's exactly what you were supposed to get out of it. It's feminist."
Girl power.
Right. Like,
And and that's the thing. Like, it's like the as much as like we've had a stream, probably one of our actually worth watching streams. I kid. No, the actual depth, like a deep stream that we've got into all the credits of it, is the Death of the Author stream, which we had with John C. Wright. In the end, we basically said that Death of the Author does not exist. uh
no, it was actually really funny because we had someone who's like, "What is Death of the Author?" And then we explained
oh
it, and he was
yeah,
like, "That's incredibly stupid."
right. But
He's just like, "That's obviously wrong." No.
right. And it's like if we were to apply properly the standards that we're talking about, these these we would understand that these are things made by our enemies. I am of the opinion that there were two generations of explicit enemies within our within like these ranks. You had those from like the civil rights era, and then you had the woke era. Mulan is of the woke era, when the wokesters, when people who were at least aligned with the woke, started taking power. You had a lot more girl boss movies during and after that time, at a rate much higher than people like to think. Now it's Disney, so it'd be weird, but like the weird one is Tangled, not say Princess and the Frog. If you get me, the
Mhm.
tank like the Tangled girl is not really a girl boss. She's kind of chill to vibe.
He's
If you get
great. Tangled
she,
is one of the better ones.
yep. But in the and Princess of the Frog is of course secretly based as well, because the whole storyline is actually girl boss. You need to chill out, and then he turns to the Playboy Alpha. Actually, you need to serious up. That's the moral of the story. The girl boss needs to chill out, and the chill maxing Chad needs to stop chill maxing so much and mog his responsibilities.
Mhm. But yeah, like
It's only secretly based if I say. Okay?
yes, I am the only one who is allowed to do this.
Right. But no. It's like that. Like the most of the media is made by enemies or enemy coded people who are aligned with them. Like Fallout New Vegas has a bunch of different characters who are very well written, great characters. But then you have like the foul mouthed drinking tomboy type, with like Cass, and it's like, what's with these guys? And even though she's a fun character, very funny to read and stuff like that, uh, she's still, you know, um, a foul-mouthed alcoholic. Like that's part of the character. But at the same time, I've read characterizations of like Piper from Fallout 4, and I'm like, how in the world did people have her as a companion except that she's pretty and can do like the nude mods or something like that? It's like that's it. That's the only reason I can consider it, because it's like her voice is obnoxious. Well, she was right about the mayor being a synth. Yeah, but she had no evidence. She's just like, like kind of looked at him once across a dinner table and narrowed her eyes. Like it's like the hard drinking cowboy girl is something of an archetype. It's just not the archetype that would do as much as you think it would in the wilderness. Like if we can like pivot to Fallout New Vegas for a bit, like it's like people describe it as post apocalyptic, and I meant to do the two posts, but at the same time, it's not really like it's still part of the apocalypse. People are still scrabbling for whatever they have. Novak is economy is basically just scrapping things. That's not like a healthy, sustainable thing, which they admittedly mention it. It's like there's a whole lot of stuff to it that like is like quote unquote like enemy coded. You have like the various female characters, like the melee companion is a woman with a power fist. I don't like to think about that. I don't want to use her. She sounds kind of obnoxious, actually. um
Yeah, it's it's one of the like I don't want to keep picking on John because John's normally very good on this sort of thing. So the fact that I'm picking on makes it sound like oh he always has these terrible takes. He doesn't, to be clear.
no.
Um, but he did the same thing with like, and I was arguing with him over it like on his blog, and yeah, I tried to be like not too rude about it, but I'm like, look, I'm gonna ask a provocative question here. He was saying this about like the second Spider-Verse when he's like, this is actually a great movie, and if it's woke, they're wrong. And I'm like, I'm gonna ask a provocative question here. Like, what would it take? Like, and John responded in a pretty nasty way, and I'm like, look, I understand it was like I'm like, I'm not gonna begrudge you this because it was a pretty provocative question. But like the second Spider-Verse, this is the thing. This is why it's like everybody does this. If we like something, we have a tendency to want to make excuses for it, right?
Yep.
Like, and we can't do that. And it's very hard sometimes, but you can't do that. Where it's like
Yep.
Spider-Verse 2 is obviously enemy propaganda. And once
Yep.
again, the big difference here with like what John is saying and how it is that
Obviously so, by the way.
everybody knew it.
Obvious.
Yeah. Everybody knew it was enemy propaganda. Everybody read it that way. Fans talked about it. This was part of the appeal of it. Now, was it well written? Yes, it was. But you know what? You can be well written enemy propaganda.
Yep.
Like,
Scalzi still keeps getting work. My sister's read more Scalzi than other people, sadly.
yeah, this is like you can have well-written enemy propaganda. It is possible. And then people go like, well, no, because if you're good writing at all, then you reflect the truth. And it's like, no, the best absolute pinnacle of writing will reflect the truth. This is true.
Yep.
However, you can have good writing that is just very prettily dressed up lies.
Yep.
And in fact, this is very common. Like, yeah, if you're not going to create one of the all-time masterworks without expressing some sort of fundamental truth of human nature, but you can dress up a lie very prettily.
Yep.
The thing about Spider-Verse is that to me, it's so incredibly obvious what they were doing. Like, without even watching, it's like, okay, looking at a plot summary, well, it's obvious. They are putting Peter Parker through a humiliation ritual and replacing him with Miles Morales. And the entire very not subtle message of the movie is if you think that Miles Morales isn't the real Spider-Man, you are the problem.
Yep.
Like, that's the plot of the movie. Someone goes like, you're not supposed to be Spider-Man. You know, you were an accident. We're the real Spider-Man, but this is the villain, right? Like, the fact that they're saying this is wrong and bad. You need to accept that Miles Morales is the real Spider-Man. The meaning of this is if you are one of the people who thinks that Miles Morales isn't the real Spider-Man, well, too bad. You have to accept it.
Yep.
And I would say that because he's not. Superheroes as titles is gay, and I hate it. Superheroes are characters; they are not titles.
Yep.
There are exceptions when you have good, well-written legacy stories. Miles Morales is not a good, well-written legacy story because he has nothing to do with the original Peter Parker. Like, he's just a kid who also gets bitten by a spider. That's not a legacy story. The fact that Peter eventually gets involved, not a legacy. Spider-Girl, which was a beloved comic book run, right? That's a legacy story. Batman Beyond, sure, I guess it's also only sort of kind of a legacy story, but it was also a cyberpunk thing that took place many years in the future of the same universe, right?
Yep.
Like, this is not the same type of thing that they're doing with Miles Morales. Miles Morales is, you're now actually Spider-Man, or you're the second Spider-Man. Like, no, Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
And I can prove that it's enemy propaganda very easily. How many of the side characters who are heroic are non-white, and how many of the side characters who aren't heroic are white? Like, it's like one of those things. I don't actually know. I don't care enough to check.
But hey, no, there's an interracial romance.
Oh, disgusting. It's almost as bad as Italian marrying a non-Italian.
Oh, can I Kursova just posted something on Twitter that I actually kind of don't agree with. Can we mention it briefly?
Sure, it'll get me off the idea of interracial marriage with Italians and non-Italians.
Yes. Yeah, I must admit to all of you, I'm in an interracial marriage. I've married a non-Italian. Anyway,
she doesn't even care about the Roman Empire, Anthony.
Yeah, well, no woman does, to be fair. But so anyway, it says, seems people are mad. Someone posted that I'm calling out isekai as being the perverted fantasies of losers who want to cheat in an MMO. And Kursova wrote narrator. He was getting dunked on for arguing that Escaflowne was not an isekai because it does not take place in a mechanics slop setting. I'm gonna give a hot take here. I kind of think Kursova is wrong. And the reason I think he's wrong is that Escaflowne is an isekai by like the strict definition of it, but modern isekais are clearly their own and very different thing. They're like basically a different genre. When you talk about isekai, if you mean Escaflowne, that you clearly don't mean like modern isekai.
Right.
The
Like,
funny thing is, like, everybody goes like, "Oh, it started with Sword Art Online," which is really funny because Sword Art Online isn't an isekai at all. Um, but they're also right. It did start. That's kind of the point, right? When you say modern isekai, what you mean is a story like Sword Art Online.
yeah.
Now, when you go, "Oh, well, what does like Sword Art Online mean?" Like it's a video game world that you are now trapped in and you get to live in. You know, Escaflowne is clearly not the same thing. And if you're arguing that isekai is a genre for perverts, like you're pretty much correct with like
Yeah.
two exceptions. Um not counting Konosuba, which is a parody of isekai.
Right.
And
And perverted.
what's up?
And perverted.
It's perverted, but it's also perverted as like part of the joke. Yeah.
Yes.
Um but not counting that, there are two good isekai, and that is Log Horizon and the Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Yep.
And even then, the Saga of Tanya the Evil is kind of barely what we're talking about because it doesn't have video game mechanics.
Right. And it's actually a theological argument. Uh,
Saga
but
of Tanya the Evil is great. They made a
yeah.
very funny, a very good, I would say funny, yeah, a pretty funny movie. Saw Tanya the Evil movie where she goes up against Ensign Mary Sue,
Yeah.
the American. It's actually a very good movie if you haven't seen it.
I actually very like I watched the first season of it way back when.
So
Um,
the ending of the movie is great. It's 10 of 10. You know, the whole premise of Tanya the Evil, right, is that she's trying to not get killed because God's trying to kill her. Uh to teach her a lesson. Except it's not like, to be clear, we should be clear here. It's not God, it's a God, right? She has pissed off a God. This is very important. It's a critical
yes.
difference, right? Uh Tanya has pissed off a god and is now trying to survive the war to spite him. So anyway, the end of the movie is that Tanya like survives this one-on-one battle with Ensign Mary Sue, and Tanya's literally like, "Why do you even want to kill me so bad?" Because like Tanya had killed her father in like a battle
Yes.
or something, right? And then she's like, "I don't even care about you. Why are you trying to kill me so badly?" Yeah, and she barely survives this battle, right? And then she's told that she is going to be removed as a reward for her good behavior, for her good performance. She's going to be removed, and she's thrilled. And she's like, "Yes, finally, I have gotten off the front lines." And then they like go, "Oh no, like you are now going to be leading a special unit." And it's like, and it's like twice as dangerous, twice as large. First in, last out, every battle, and you are in charge. And that's how the movie ends.
Yep.
It's great. And honestly, Tanya the Evil, like it does a great job with like asking interesting questions. You know, she's called Tanya the, and I know I'm doing like the most bare bones analysis ever. This is like not barely even subtext in the show. It's basically the text, right? But like, is she really the evil one? She's trying to end the war quickly. She doesn't. She would be happy if less people died, right? Like her goal is her goal is to make it so that so that there is as little war as possible.
Yep.
But it's everybody else, the not evil ones, who are less ruthless than she is, who keep prolonging the war because they're not willing to do what needs to be done, or unlike her, they are irrational.
Yep.
Tanya, being a sociopath, is completely rational. Emotion, like genuinely,
Yes.
emotion is entirely taken out of her decision making. She is utterly ruthless, but only because this is what she knows she has to do to survive. And this is how season 1 ends, right? They have thoroughly
Yeah.
defeated this one country, and if that country were being rational, they would surrender. Tanya would have surrendered, because Tanya would have known that there was no way for her to win. But they are not being rational. They are being human. They are being irrational. So they fight on anyway, even though there is no way for them to win the war.
Yep.
And that's the whole point of Ensign Mary Sue. You know, she's Little Miss Perfect. She's a Mary Sue. And yet, despite the fact that Tanya is known as Tanya the Evil, Ensign Mary Sue is far more ruthless than Tanya because she's fixated on personal vengeance of
Yeah.
something that Tanya doesn't give a shit about. It's great. This is all
Yeah.
like it's a very clever little show, right? Lots of
Right.
smart, intelligent things going on. I also think it gets the psychology of the people involved down very, very well, right?
Yes.
I think like there's a great joke where Tanya decides that she's going to start like a unit, but she's going to intentionally make it so that nobody will want to join it. So her advertisement is like incredibly dangerous assignment offered. He goes, training is hard and danger is extremely high. K low. But if you survive, there will be glory. And then she's like, obviously, no one will sign up for this.
Except she didn't, like he's like, oh yeah, modern man would never go for this. Except these are the heroes of the First World War.
Right. And then they all sign up, and then she intentionally tries to get them to quit by making her training unbelievably hard, but this just motivates them more because that's what they were promised.
Yep.
Like she told them it would be hard. Like they're like, and it's like I vaguely remember her like having to revive someone who nearly like suffocates to death on snow or something. And then there's like, so you're surely gonna quit, right? And then they all look at her and they're like, what? No, of course not. It's like that's insulting. It's like, how dare you imply that we would quit? You told us it would be hard. And then she's like, fucking hell. He's like, what the fuck? Why are they like this? It's great. Great show. Very clever. Gets the psychology of the people involved down extremely well. Lots of interesting things to say.
Yep.
Right? Like, is it a 10 of 10? No, I just don't think it's deep enough for that. Like, it's funny and interesting and asks fun questions, but like, it's not, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
it's not saying that much, but it's good. Log Horizon, my beloved Digibro's favorite isekai.
yeah.
For good reason. It's a great show, especially seasons 1 and 2. I'm
Yeah.
on Team Digibro. I think that season 2 is almost as good as season 1. I also think I tried watching a little bit of season 3. Something was off about the pacing of it, and I never finished it. I could be wrong. It's possible season 3 is great, and I just didn't get to the good stuff yet. Yeah,
I don't. I don't know. I liked it. That's fine.
I might give it another shot eventually. Now that I've got Crunchyroll, woo,
Yeah.
cool.
But
Okay,
no, he talked about things like mechanics slop, and that's like Shield Hero and whatnot. Because what
yes,
happens is that they build up an audience because they talk about an autist's favorite thing, which is mechanics and how they interact with the world and stuff like that. But the problem is that then they develop it out into basically whatever fetishes the author has. Or, as I say, they eventually just lose it and lose whatever mechanics makes them special, and it becomes no different from any other isekai. Like whatever mechanics they use, you can't actually rationalize them out. Like say, like I like listening to D&D podcasts on occasion. I don't like Critical Role; they're a little bit too famous, which is weird because I enjoy Legends of Adventures. But the which is like the second biggest one. But it's like the jokes are just so fun. It's a fun one. But it's like the mechanics stay the same the entire way through. Do they get too many ones and 20s? Yeah, they do a little bit sometimes. Other times it's not so much. It just kind of works out, and all these other things. The point is that there's a set of rules that they're following that you can understand. They are playing Dungeons and Dragons. They are playing Dungeons and Dragons in a way that you, the audience, can track out ahead of time based on what they're fighting. Would I recommend it? No. Most of these things are just comedy shows, not mechanic shows, if you get me. But with something like Shield Hero, with something like various Korean manhwa who are all ripping each other off in ways that even a hack would, like, even a hack would flinch at. Chuck Wendig released a book about the stairs in the woods. He clearly just read, watched a Wendigoon video about it and decided to write a novel on it. And that's assuming a lot, by the way. He's ripping that off. I think even Chuck Wendig would have the shame for what the Koreans are doing to each other. It's like, in reality, it's not. It's just a video game, right? It's you could, except it's not even a consistent video game because there's no actual, like, understanding to how the levels interact with each other, to what the meaning is. At some point, like in Sword Art Online, Kirito, or whatever his name is just too powerful to even be hurt by the people who are attacking him. Like, okay, fine, I dig it. It's a good way to show off narratively that he's strong. But the problem is that it doesn't really feel like that, because his one advantage is that he's just been grinding. That implies that other people wouldn't just be grinding all the time. Like, oh, he had a beta version, and so he had a little bit of an advantage. That doesn't that doesn't mean he can just shrug off a bunch of characters, like, who also have nothing to do in this world but grind. Like, I ground out my WoW levels. Like, it's ridiculous nonsense because there's logics within the show that just don't work. There's logics within the video game stuff that just don't work. It's a video game, but it has, like, all this freedom to do things like fly and whatnot. Well, if you flew in something like Fallout New Vegas, one, everyone with a gun that hates you will shoot at you, and two, it's not really the advantage you think it is, but it will crush progression. And the ability to interact with different parts of the world in the way that the developers design. Like, it's how do I want to put it? Like, it's just too weird. It's too lackadaisical with its own world. Like, the whole uh we were talking about girl bosses before we got distracted. Like, the reason why the girl boss thing doesn't work is that it can only work if there is absolutely no risk of violence or very little risk of violence. Right? Like, if I wanted to, I could pick up, two HR ladies, if they're the Zoomer millennial type, and haven't gotten fat yet. I could pick two of them up, throw one on each shoulder, and just walk away with them. And they're not really going to be able to do anything unless they put their whole effort into getting out of my arms. And I'm not even that, well, I'm strong to the normie, but I'm not even that strong among strong people. There's been times when, like, someone has gotten into my face and I just pick them up and set them to the side, and they go, huh? And then they have other things that they're thinking about because someone actually manhandled them for once. Like, like, the girl boss thing only works in a vacuum, or it works if the measure of violence is guns, which, quite frankly, don't care if it's a male or female hand pulling the trigger. The gunpowder is the same across all sexes. So, like, that's actually a little bit more acceptable. But at the same time, if you have something where it's like, run up, she's 80, 100 pounds soaking wet, punches you in the face, no, my head's not going to explode. Like, the mechanics in reality are off center to each other. But the problem is that in Fallout New Vegas, the mechanics are actually very consistent. But with something like an isekai or a game mechanics slop, isekai, which I like. I like that mechanic slop isekai, like Shield Hero. Actuality, they don't do that. It doesn't actually work as a system. You can't make a D&D system out of it. Like that as the standard, right? Because what happens is that eventually the hero has to have a hype moment, or the hero has to do something that's unpleasant, and you have to go with it from there. Like, it's like in Shield Hero, he just buys a girl. Like you know, like what's your cheapest slave? We have an 8-year-old girl who's a half raccoon. She's a beastkin, whatever they call them. Okay, you know, and it's like I'm supposed to be sympathetic to the guy. Yeah, he's a loser like you. I'm not going to buy people. Like I'm not an abolitionist, you know. I am in a way, but it's like I'm not one of those guys who's like slavery is the ultimate evil. But at the same time, it's like what kind of thing? Well, he needed her because she could kill things where he can't. And he gets some XP and they share XP and then she levels up and she's 18 magically by leveling. Uh-huh. All right. You know, like it's
Mm,
like I think that's bullshit. I think that's bad writing. I think that's bad game design if it was game design. I actually think the only one who should be leveling up is the main character, unless you're like part of the game is managing your followers leveling up with you. Not like that. It's there's a ton of things wrong with it that just kind of hurt the ability of somebody to think about what they're consuming. Like the Marvel movies, right? Someone said that all the movies between Avengers, what's the third Avengers movie? Um, Not Endgame, the one before it. Uh, Infinity War,
which one? I'm sorry, I'm
the
confused.
one where Thanos does the snap.
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay. What? Anyway, point is that some guy, sub 18 busser, said that. Well, he was a barback. Excuse me. Said that everyone, every single one of those movies were grade A, 10 out of 10s. Didn't miss a single one. And of course, it's like, you mean Captain Marvel? Captain Marvel's a 10? Like
Hmm.
absolutely not. Like, and of course we ribbed him for it. The bouncers did. But like, to me, like, yeah, sure, the first one of Marvel movies is actually pretty good. In general, they're all pretty good. People were negative on two and Thor and others, but quite frankly, they didn't know how good they got it. But it's like the whole system doesn't quite translate, doesn't scale up in ways that people want to talk about or want to admit to, because then it'd be like, oh, I have to actually think about my consummation, when I'm like trying to build here, like what I'm putting into my body. It's like that's the reason why I had a very careful critique of Iron Lung, unless I somehow blanked on him being called the Butcher in some early part of the movie. It comes out of nowhere. Like, you want to think about these things, about how you know anyway, like how these things could write more. It's like, it's why criticism's good for writers. Like the thing, like Fantastic Schools 1, right? I received some criticism for Doom Garden, which is basically pretty simple. It's the Doom guy at Hogwarts, except it's like an American school, and Warren G. Harding's a magical wizard and stuff like that, statue thing. It's a very fun story. You don't
Yes.
take the story seriously. You're just watching the violence unfold. Um, but like, somebody criticized it, except it's like, I didn't like it because I don't feel it felt in the spirit of the thing. And it's like, yeah, because it was like a palate cleanser that was before two serious stories, including the final story of the, like, it was the third to last story or so. The point is that it was like a palate cleanser before you got into really deep stories. And so it's like, there's reasons and mechanics, and that kind of criticism doesn't quite work. Like it doesn't tell me how actually I could have improved it. Was there a way to make this a better story? My taste wasn't there. Okay. But what makes your taste like that? People have a taste for strong women, actually. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that taste is good for the story. People also have a taste for knights saving, ladies and damsels and stuff like that. But people don't want to say that because then it feels a little off, like you're committing a heresy against your religion. Like my actual secret, deep, dark, serious argument is that actually the world religion is not Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or Confucianism or whatever. It's liberalism. To have a not strong woman, like, say, the girl from Tangled, even though she's very confident, but she isn't a strong woman. A strong woman, Anthony. Uh, actually, feels weird. You don't know how to deal with that. My worldview is to say that actually, you're supposed to be confident and self-actualize and stuff like that. Well, I know what the waitresses are at my bouncing gig, and a lot of them are kind of just barely holding on in some ways. It's like, well, you know, yeah, being the strong woman working, a double from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. That's that'll definitely closing out for a little bit extra. That's certainly medieval peasants didn't work this hard. Okay, actually, I kid. They kind of did. They worked harder than you could possibly imagine, but they could handle it better than you could. It's like, well, I'm sure that strong woman stuff really helps them out. It's like, what if you actually had a damsel in a movie? Well, she isn't a very actualized character. Well, it depends on how you write her. If she's just a load, yeah, that's bad writing. If you have a load in a video game, and I mean it like a load on your back, nothing else, you perverts. She's just kind of unpleasant. How do you deal with that? How do you write a good version of the load? Well, you actually have her be kind of a spiritual nexus of the group, of the character. She shows up and she's like, oh, looks like you fought pretty hard. Here, have some food. Like, you make it so that even though she doesn't have mechanics within the story for fighting, say, you have her have mechanics, quote unquote, for, since we're talking about video games, that just make the life better. Like, there's the girl from Metro Exodus, your character's wife, who just, like, she thinks you're dead. So she sees you and she just charges into you and tackles you. It's like, oh, I thought you died, Sergey. Whatever your character's name is. Like, it's like, it's actually kind of touching. It actually hits right here, when you see it happen, because it's a character you're developing these things with that becomes more than the mechanics. Like, if you, she might have like a sniper rifle, but like I said earlier, quite frankly, gunpowder makes the sexes equal, if you're willing to use it. But also it comes with damage. But don't worry about that. We're not talking about that. But it's like with these characters that people bring up and they talk about, and it's like with the Mad Max Furiosa, and it's with the cast in the in the excuse me, Fallout New Vegas. It's like there's a certain brokenness to them that you just kind of have to vibe with. It's like the characters, an alcoholic drinking, done wrong, her caravan fell apart. Yeah, like, sure, that explains the violence, but if you met this person in real life, apart from the game, which I have met similar characters to this, they're all just like sad. It's like they've been devolved into something. Excuse me, they devolved into something that. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Anthony?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. I muted myself by accident. That's why I checked. They devolved into something, these quote unquote strong women, into something that's half feral. Like, the strength, saved their lives maybe, but at the same time, now they can't turn it off. With Cass in the Wasteland, it's different. It's a post-apocalypse. But in the real life aspects of it, we're not in the excuse me, we're not in the post-apocalypse. We're in like the pre-apocalypse where our money still has value. We see the writing on the wall, but no one can do anything. It's like, wasting strength now, becoming something hard is almost worthless, because even if you become hard, you're becoming hard for something that doesn't quite measure up into this world. Like, oh, you're hard, you spend 12 hours a day on DoorDash. Oh, you're a hard woman, you do an HR job, and then you hit the gym, and then you drink a smoothie. Yeah, that's hard, all right. That's girl bossing. Or it's like with guys, like the clavicular ASU frat boy kind of thing. Turns out he's he's been mogged by his balding head. He has a what is it? Norwood. He has a Norwood, Anthony. The
Yeah.
ASU frat boy who mogged clavicular is Norwood maxing. As if you couldn't tell that he was using drugs. I had people in my high school and elementary school and middle school who exercised very hard, partly because the kid wanted a military career, and he was slimline. He was very strong and fast, but at the same time, he didn't like build muscle in the same way that this guy did. Why in the world wouldn't he be on trend at the very least? It's like this, right? Like the mechanics of a game does not connect to reality in any way, shape, or form. If things remain a fantasy, it's not that bad. You can handle it. At the worst, it's pornography, and pornography is an issue of the heart that you can choose not to spread. You can keep that sin from spreading to other people and getting worse. But it's like with the crime is merely to yourself and not to others, and it is a crime, and it should be absolutely criminalized. But when you take this stuff and remove yourself from the reality of it, like when they're doing that Fallout show, it just doesn't make sense, because they're doing real life stuff, but then also she's like, um, it's like they reference game mechanics, and it doesn't quite work that way. Heck, the game mechanics in Fallout New Vegas aren't as good as everyone says. I'm not enjoying it as much as people seem to do. And it's like, yeah, sure, the story's interesting, the story's compelling, but at the same time, I'm kind of more of a Doom guy. I want to just run and gun. I don't know why I put so many points in the speech. I don't use the skill anyway, because I've killed somebody, gotten a negative reputation with the group, so the mechanics where I would have been able to use the speech checks are
Incredible.
locked away from me because I
My
killed too
sister
many
points
founding
out that if
enemies.
you have a low enough skill and intelligence in speech, you will just babble incoherently at people.
Yeah, I'm kind of like thinking I did that because I brought down my intelligence to 4 to bring my strength up to 8 and my charisma up to 8, but I haven't used my charisma for shit.
Look, when you have these sorts of games, I always want to do it like there's like the optimal way to play and the funny way to play, and the funny way to play is way more fun. So I always do like intelligence 0, strength 0, and then you go like charisma 50. And then you're just
Right?
like a weak but charismatic moron.
This is basically cult leader maxing.
Yes.
Like it's like, okay, guys, roll it up to the final boss,
And then
and
it
like,
makes my sister, who loves like these sorts of games, right? And I really
right,
don't at all.
right,
But my sister loves these sorts of games. And I've only played like a little bit of New Vegas and I just got bored. But like I tried it on her suggestion. I also tried like Expedition 33, which is straight up her favorite game. And I'm just like, I don't like this at all. Uh, but anyway, New Vegas has more of the role playing stuff, right?
right.
It always drives her nuts that I like mess around with the character creation, because she's like, your problem is the reason you don't enjoy is you're not taking it seriously. You got to get invested in the story. And I'm like, all right, well then my character is retarded and canonically. And then she's like, that's
Canonically,
not serious. And I'm like, but it's funny,
right? And it
which
is
is
funny.
much more fun.
Yeah, it is. It's like, Yeah, so it's like my character being charismatic, but then going, I just killed everyone. You know, going for the Mr. House ending is clearly the way to go because my character cannot be trusted with reality at all. It's like, so what do you want to do? It's like I don't know. I've got I've got an almost retarded level of intelligence, and then I did a high charisma, so I'm just one of the beautiful few who like everyone goes, oh, you're so hot. I'll listen to whatever you say. And then it's like, I'm weeping to myself as I blast another enemy away I could have talked to. If only I had enough. Uh, it's fun. That part's fun. The metagaming aspect of how my character's interacting with the world is fun. Because you got a guy who's like, intelligence 4. You have to remember, guys, it's intelligence 4. Walking up is like, of course I can negotiate. And then just going bam, 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 you know, reload, bam, 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 bam. It's like, where does it all go wrong, Anthony?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, these sorts of games like RPGs, and we've been going for 2 hours. This will be my last word anyway. But like, it's just not my thing. This whole like, oh, you have to create a narrative, and the reason you got to invest so much time and energy into like building your character. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm bored.
Yep.
Like in New Vegas, that's kind of my feeling on it. Whenever it's like, no, this is like, and Ken has said this, like, no, this is the greatest game ever made. It's an absolute masterpiece. You will love it. And then I'm like, well, I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm
Yep.
walking.
You got the
All right.
radio on, right?
Yeah. And then you go like,
Okay.
all right, there are people here. And then I'm like, I shoot a guy, and then my
Yippee.
sister goes like, great, like you've kind of ruined your game because you shot that guy and he's like important. And I'm like, well, like what the fuck? That's not funny.
Right.
And I'm like, I just want to kill. All right, can I do like a kill everyone run? And then she goes, no, that's not fun. Not the first time you play. And I'm like, well, it's fun to me. And then and then you do it, and then you realize it actually is kind of boring when you just kill everyone. And
Yeah.
then you go like, all right, should I just restart? And then you restart, and then you're like trying to play normally, but then it's boring for different reasons because you're
Yeah.
like, man, like what do I even do? And then you go, no, don't worry, it gets good at hour 7. And I'm like, this is just not for me. And that was my experience, by the way, with like Claire Expedition 33 admittedly is a completely different type of game. It's not role playing, it has characters, a narrative is set, and that's fine. I have
Yeah.
no issue with it, right? But I don't have, to be clear, this is also my opinion of New Vegas. Did I just give a real criticism of New Vegas? No. I am explaining why
Mm.
I personally did not like it,
Yes.
right? Same with Claire Expedition. Am I going to? I'm not about to explain why it's a bad game. I am explaining why I personally am not the audience.
Right.
Like I start to play it, and it has like this, whole sad French vibe, right? And it's like, okay, it's very pretty. Um, and then the immediate first thing that happens is you need to watch your lover die in front of you, like or former lover. It doesn't matter, whatever. You're in love with her, she dies. Uh, okay. And I'm like, wow, that's depressing. And it just kind of go, and then you learn that you're going to need to go on this journey to kill the painter, who is immediately hinted at not really being evil. So I'm like, okay, well, there's that. And then you go like, wait a minute, like everybody around you is like, I'm going to be honest, we all know this is going to fail and you're going to die. Um,
Yeah.
this is a doomed mission. We kind of only do it to make everybody feel better because they're all doomed anyway. And we want to at least give them some sort of pretend hope. And then you're like, well, maybe not. And then they're like, yeah, sure, buddy. You tell yourself that. And I'm like, okay. So, on one hand, this is a perfectly logical setup for a game and a very, right? Like, there is
Yep.
no problem with the way that they have set this up inherently, right? Like, it makes sense. I get it. And there is intrigue here. On the other hand, fuck, man, this is so depressing. I'm like, why am I even doing anything? And then you go like the answer is like, oh well, because that's the whole point. You're about to do something like impossible, epic, but then immediately like everybody in your party or almost everyone dies, right?
Right.
Your main character dies, and like, I was spoiled on the ending because I realized pretty quickly I wasn't gonna finish this shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I just looked it up to be like, oh, but the story is so great. And once again, I have no criticism of the story qua story, right? Like, it is
Yeah.
intelligent. It does make sense. It is clever, right?
Yeah.
But my reaction to learning the rest of the story was, oh, does this make you want to play it? And I'm like, no, because what am I playing for? There is no good ending. Like,
Yeah.
there's
It's
no
like yeah.
your good end. The ending is either everybody in this world dies, or like what, this woman is just trapped in a cycle of grief because her son was murdered. And then it's also like, oh, but also everybody's gonna die anyway, so, and like none of it matters. It's all just shit.
It's French nihilism, Anthony. You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get
And
it,
I'm like,
Anthony.
I don't want to play this.
You have
You
to
know.
read Foucault and such.
Then you just add on to the fact that the parry, I was just incredibly bad at the parrying, and my sister's like, "Oh, don't worry, everybody's bad at first. You'll get good eventually." And I'm like, "Okay, but I don't want to get. I want to be able to feel like I'm doing something. Like
I
I'm throwing my head against the tutorial boss like 20 times. You know,
yeah.
this,
No,
this,
like
this, this is
sometimes the
not for me."
mechanics is just kind of like
You can
no.
contrast this with like, that's the thing too, where it's like with me specifically, I realized eventually it's not really about the difficulty of the game. Like, oh, you don't like when games are too hard. Like, and the one I bring up is like FTL is a famously difficult game, and it's one of my
Yep.
all-time favorite games, right? It is infamous for how hard it is. All right, so why do I love FTL so much if it's so difficult? Well,
Yeah.
because what was that?
No, sorry. I just still dealing with a cold.
Yes. Well, when you play FTL, like you play FTL immediately.
Yes.
It's like there is no thing where you go like, oh, once you reach level 20 and like play for 5 hours, you'll finally be able to master the parrying system, right? Like,
Right.
no, you start the game, everything is in front of you, everything is laid out. The key to FTL and what makes it such a great game is that base FTL, there is a mod called Multiverse that's like became so popular. It's basically the unofficial sequel.
Yeah.
But the thing about base FTL is that like it is, I'm trying to think of how to put it. It is exceptionally well balanced. And
Yes.
a lot of people don't believe me. Like this is one of the it's like a meme in the FTL community is that is that random newbies will show up on a thread and rage about how the game screwed them over. And the answer is always like, if you actually read, someone goes, okay, so you could have done this, this, and this differently, get good, right? And
Right.
they eat it. Yeah,
Right.
they eat that answer, but that's absolutely the correct answer, right? Like the
Yeah.
thing about FTL is that when you look at the top players, and this is why I say it's incredibly well balanced, it's actually like a masterpiece of game design. You can win, I believe the top players win over 90% of their runs on every ship, right?
Yes.
Like, so every ship you will win over, if you with perfect play, you will win over 9 out of 10 times. That is like impeccably good game design,
Yep.
right? Like for a game as asymmetrical as FTL, where every ship radically changes how you play, and that there, and with as much randomization as FTL has in the runs.
Yep.
But the key difference here between this and a game like Fallout New Vegas is I am never doing nothing, right? Like there is never a point where I'm like, oh,
Right.
well, I'm not doing anything, right? Like I'm just traveling to get to the next location, and I'm not going to be able to do anything cool until I reach level 11 billion, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. You don't need to learn like a parry mechanic. It's about learning how the systems work, but the systems are always right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always, you can pause the game. Even though it is technically a real-time game, and is functionally a turn-based game because of the pause system. Yeah.
Yes.
So all of this is to say, like, and Hades is the same thing. Hades is generally considered to be like in the middling high tier of difficulty, when you look at other roguelikes, it's not very hard, but when you compare it to like all games as a whole, it's higher than average, right?
I think
Okay.
I only beat it like once before I got bored with it.
What was that?
I think I only beat it like once before I got bored with it.
Yeah, it takes between 30 to 50 tries generally in Hades 1 to beat the boss for the first time, and
Yeah.
then you can get into a rhythm. I have a lot of hours in Hades 2, but I believe it took me like yeah, it took me an absurd amount of runs to beat Chronos. I think, but I was like really, really bad for a long time. It took me like 102 tries to beat Chronos.
Yeah.
But like when you look at the average, it's again like around between 30 to 50. And Typhon is a little bit harder, but you also face him a little bit later, so he's like 50-ish, right?
Yeah.
Um, when you look at roguelikes as a whole, this is on the mid to upper tier of difficulty, right? Like it's not crazy hard, but it's hard enough. Okay. So all of this to say, like, well, one, what's the difference? Why don't I have a problem with the curve of Hades and Hades 2? Well, because you are immediately doing something, Like, and I don't feel limited by what I can do, right? Like you get a god boon in room 1 of Hades every time. So your build starts to come online immediately. By the end of the first area, you're going to have a build. And when you restart, you're going to get a build in every single run. Whereas in a game like Fallout New Vegas, it could take a really long time to get a viable build online. Or in Claire Expedition, like, yes, unlike, I will say this, you do get into the fighting immediately, right? Like, and you can technically master the carrying system very quickly. The problem is, I didn't. So I'm just like throwing myself at enemies over and over and then getting bored. And I don't get bored
Yep.
in Hades. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, and that's the and that's the kind of thing. It's like the boredom versus non-boredom aspect of it. Like there are times in Fallout New Vegas where I'm just walking, but then like you turn on the radio, it's like ring a ding ding, it's like, oh, yippee yay, there's no wedding bells for today. And you feel like a cowboy, you know. I kind of I kind of want to know what your sister's opinion of my gameplay style of being specced out to Kit for speech, but then just having guns to solve all my problems
I
because
think, to be honest with you, I think she would be okay with that because you're taking the game seriously. What she doesn't like is that I was like going, I want to do the funniest possible run. And
right,
then he's like, This is why you don't enjoy these games. You got to get invested in the world." And
right,
I'm like, I mean, you're probably correct, but counter argument, I want to kill everyone. Can you
right,
do that? And she's like, yes, you can, technically. And I'm like, great, I'm in. And she's like, no, that's a horrible idea. Don't do
right.
that. And I'm like,
Don't
too
do it.
late. I just killed that guy.
Right. Sometimes I'll load into a level, hear gunfire, and then it's like quest canceled, canceled, quest canceled. And it turns out that Legion killed an NCR dude. Didn't kill any of his companions, by the way. They just focus fired the quest giver. Like, this is pure game mechanics, right? I show up on the loaded area and he's supposed to survive. I know he's supposed to survive. I check the wiki. But it's like, no, you just load in, you hear gunfire. Oh, sorry, these quests are canceled for you. The Legion decided to kill this dude because of the game state, even though the game is designed, him around him being alive. Or like I freed Deputy Beagle and he immediately got stabbed to death, like in one shot. Like there's some funny jank with these games. But I'll unless you have another point to make, I guess I'll start finishing up.
Sorry, what was that last bit?
Unless you have another point to make, I'll start finishing up.
Oh no. Nope, I'm good. I guess
Yeah,
last thing to say. We said we talk about Root and we never did. I don't have anything to say. Root is great. You should play it. Cool.
fair
Moving
enough.
on.
All right, right. Ahmed Al Awad has a comment here. It sounds better than old Cyberpunk 2077
He's
endings.
referring to Mark of the Ninjas ending. That's when he made the comment, and then I forgot about it. Sorry,
Oh,
Emma.
fair. And like, yeah, endings are tough in video games. They are, you want a boss, but you have to kind of work at it. But no, I've read the 2077 endings for Cyberpunk, and quite frankly, the only ending that makes sense and isn't just suicide is the ending where you preserve your own life at the cost of the ghost of Johnny Silverhand. Uh, at the cost of everyone else. Like, from an eschatological, whatever standpoint, the non-suicide options are always better. I've never understood them in video games. It's like you can kill yourself for the good of insert assholes here, and it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Johnny Silverhand was a terrorist. He,
I
he
think
killed he killed
so,
people.
I think Mark of the Ninja actually does a legitimately very good job with making this a difficult choice
Yeah.
because you have just played through the game and like the hallucinations are part of the gameplay at one point. And then you've just revealed that the hallucinations were so bad that the tutorial boss, who by the way then becomes the character who tries to push you into like taking over the Ninja Clan. So she's the one driving you to doing all of this, right?
Yes.
Is revealed to be a hallucination. So it is a genuinely difficult decision by the end. It's really like a self-defense thing or like defense of others, you know.
Yeah. So like there's a post online that came up while I was checking things is that I hate these, says the Cozy Winter Peeper. Who I don't actually know who this is. Here's a world-ending situation. What would you do? And it's a video of the moon being like thrown at our planet. I'll tell you what you think I'll do, dipshit. I'll fucking die. They should community note every fucking one of these so you don't get payouts. Yeah, no, like if the moon gets thrown at you, sometimes these video games feel like this. The moon's coming down. What are you gonna do? Well, am I the hero? No, we're doing a thing where we subvert the hero's journey. I guess I'm gonna fucking die. Most people can't be bothered to improve their lives by going to a gym. What do you mean a normal man would be like, I'm gonna be the hero and figure out why the moon's falling in on us at 100,000 miles an hour? It's like, no, you're not going to do that. You,
Sorry, you
if
just made me think of my all-time favorite line from Gurren Lagann and maybe any work of fiction ever, which
yes,
is when I forgot his name. Crap, the main character.
Kamiya,
No,
uh,
no, the Simone.
Simo, yeah,
Uh, Simone, the moon is crashing into the earth, and they're trying to like evacuate as many people as possible.
yeah.
And then they go to Simone's like, well, what do we do? And Simone's like, and they go, it's obvious. We're gonna push the moon back into space. And the episode ends. And I'm pretty sure I applauded and I said that it might be the greatest line ever said in the work of fiction.
Right?
And that is in fact what they attempt to do. They get into the Gurren and like the or whatever the hell they call the robot. I don't even know if they call it a Gurren, if that's like
I
the
can't
name for
remember
it,
either.
whatever. And they try and push the moon back into space, only for the reveal to be that the moon is actually itself a giant mech. Uh
See, in a video game, there'd be a great progression to it. I'm not a
there
fan
would
of the normal dude doing things, unless the normal dude is secretly a hero, just hasn't been given the opportunity. But that strikes me too much of the gamma. No, thank you. Uh, all
no,
right.
I got nothing. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm gonna figure out something that's less variety show for next week, but it might be a
Woohoo.
variety show. Things are like not busy, but it's like you ever actually try to change your life like these video game characters? Turns out it's hard and you don't want to do it, and I'm trying to overcome that. So those who pray for me, and those who don't pray, you got to start somewhere. Um, yeah, we might talk over a few things depending on how things develop. Um, one of the elephants in the room, because we do a lot of religious stuff on this show, is the Mike Huckabee interview with Tucker Carlson. Even like, I'm of the
I don't want to
opinion
watch it. I don't
I
care
don't want
about
to
it. I
watch it
don't
either.
care about Huckabee.
Every clip makes me angry.
I
Uh,
don't care about Huckabee.
we don't care about Israel as much as people think we should, because quite frankly, when it's Revelation, when it's the book of Revelation, and it's like the judgments and stuff like that, it's a one world government under the Antichrist anyway, and that implies that if it's all set in Israel, that the Antichrist is going to be Jewish. So screw off. uh anyway, there's a lot to that stuff that I think people don't think through, especially the dispensationalists, like Huckabee, who quite frankly don't think about their faith. uh we might
So the reason that I don't think or talk about Israel all that much is simply because I can do absolutely nothing about it. So I'm like, what? Why? What's even the point? You know, Vox
I,
is
on the
like,
other
oh, we're
hand,
about
am a
to go
true
to war.
patriot, and I will strap myself to the rockets.
Yeah. Vox Day's like posting, oh, we're about to go to war with Iran, which number one, I'm gonna make a bet here. We won't.
Yep.
And number
Especially
two,
after that interview. Holy cow.
yeah. And number two, also, like, maybe
Yeah.
is us talking about it going to materially change what happens? Do I need
No,
to offer an opinion on this? I don't see why.
but the internet demands it, especially when they don't ask for it.
Yeah.
No, it's listen, I've got stronger opinions than this stuff, just because it's like the main stronghold of that pro-Israel thing is the Protestant is the Protestant Baptist kind of faction, the evangelical faction, which I'm the closest to. But at the same time, it's like, no, there's no actual power there, and quite frankly, they're mostly boomers who don't actually think about their faith. You know, we're talking about video games, and we're talking about video games, and we're thinking about video games and the mechanics and how they interact with each other, how the characters interact with each other. If the Christian thinks about his faith, he might reach a conclusion to something, and it's not like he needs to keep an open door brain where just any thought tumbles in, right? But at the same time, like at a certain point, you have to have the conviction of things like Jesus Christ dying on the cross for your sins, rising again after on the third day. You know, you might say, well, that's kind of a weird counting. It doesn't quite work out. Well, it works out in like the Jewish calendar that should quiet the discussion about it. But for some, they keep bringing it up. Like atheists tend to bring that up. You know, the numbers don't work out. Well, in the Jewish calendar, it did work out. So, you know, ta-da. Uh, you know, or you have something like uh for one of the things that gets into the craw of predestinate not predestination dispensationalist types is the, you know, the Jewishness of Jesus Christ, who he's there for. Is he there for the Jews first? You know, philo-Semitism is a religion, an idol, you know, for these people. But it turns out Jesus has non-Jews in his lineage. He has Rahab and he has Ruth, and supposedly the mother of David was a Hittite, which I haven't checked for myself, but somebody told me that, so I'm going to repeat it because it makes sense, even if it doesn't, even if there isn't a biblical source for it, because why in the world would Uriah the Hittite and other Hittites hang out with David? He has Hittites in his army. Uh, you know, like why would they hang out if they weren't related to him? Like it clicks some things. You know, not that I've done enough research to make a definite thing, but it's like, you know, that's an idea. That's an idea you can think about, and then you can go back to scripture. Is there verses talking about David's mother? Uh, I don't remember any. I don't think there are any, but you know, I can look into it. Is it a tradition thing? You know, okay, the tradition says XYZ. You know, we've had this debate on uh uh the Protestant versus Catholic streams about Mary and other things. You know, the tradition is that she entered a dormition, sleep, death, you know, however you want to call it, and that she was raised up into the clouds like her son Jesus Christ. Is that in the Bible? No. It is a tradition of the Catholic Church that they accept as being as true as a tradition can be accepted. It's not a dogma like other parts of the Marian doctrine that they have. So in other words, what can you do about that? Well, I can say, well, it's not in the Bible. Well, he can say it's tradition, right? So if you talk about things like the existence of Israel, if you make it an article of faith, what comes up is, are you actually believing something that's in the gospel, in the Bible, or are you believing something that's a tradition? I would hope that our gentle listeners, our beautiful, wonderful listeners, who are a eugenicist stream, are in fact all able to discern what is specifically a tradition and what is specifically in the Bible. Most of the stuff that people are going to bring up especially in the coming days, most of the things that these crazies bring up, most of what Israel believes about itself is not actually in the Bible. It is at best a tradition. At worst, it is a literal Mossad psyop that they have killed people over, or sold children over, or any number of things. So for those Christians who are still there with us, you know, don't be deceived by this stuff. Don't despair. It's annoying to deal with, especially for me, because when there's crazy Catholics, I can rib Anthony, but this is actually a crazy Protestant problem. So I can't rib Anthony. Instead, I must take my ribbing instead. My body is ready, but I'll leave that up to your good judgment.
I
So
think
it's
somebody said this, and I think that I read it like on Twitter or something somewhere, and I actually
yeah,
think this was about right. And it was this: the Protestantism's biggest issue at the moment is that it has been hijacked by pro-Israel dispensationalists, and Catholicism's biggest issue is that it's been hijacked by globalists.
yep,
And I think that that is a fairly accurate, neutral way of summarizing the problems.
yep.
And with that, I actually have to take a quiz for my cybersecurity class. So before midnight.
Anthony, that's bad operational security. In fact, this was a secret test. You failed already. You revealed it on stream. All right, guys. Thank you.